All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good evening. October 30th, 2025, Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order. I'll call the roll. Kelvin Barton, that's me. Bud Brown. Yes. Daniel Dunn. Here. Sanita Eisenberg.
Here.
Nicholas Craig. Jim Hansen. Here. Julie Jefferson. Dominic Masseri.
Here.
Scott Van Dalen.
Here.
Please join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so now it's time for open sessions for public comment. Eileen is our planning commission coordinator. Would you take over?
Yes. Welcome to the meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live and will be uploaded to our website. During the open public comment session, speakers may not speak to the items that are scheduled on the agenda for a public hearing. We have two. We have code amendments for ADU and co-living, as well as annual code amendments for the GMA requirements. We will start with those in the room first and then move to the attendees online. Anyone in the room that wishes to speak at this time? Seeing no hands, Chair, and I have no attendees as well.
Thank you. So now it's time for commissioner comment. Commissioners online, any commissioner comments? Okay, seeing there are none, let's move on.
We did do the department update.
Yes, oh,
I did not put that on the agenda as it's a special meeting. It's not our regular, so we were just gonna move into.
I was still gonna ask the rest of the.
Yes, I'm not allowed to speak.
Can I make a commissioner comment then?
Yeah.
So the, county council had voted to accept, Bellingham and other UGAs, and then voted to not accept Blaine's UGA proposal, even though Blaine had made a UGA proposal. So they, decided that was not great, so they're gonna rescind that at the next meeting, that vote. But I think the guidance is still there in general, in terms of like what they like, what they don't like. So you take it as well, but that'll probably get rescinded next time. And then it sounds like the application for open space that we last time, we requested access to that. Did they reapply or add that?
They, after hearing your deliberation and your recommendation, they contacted our staff and said they now would like to provide open space. And so they made that commitment. And so the staff report was amended to reflect that, and then that'll go to the council next Tuesday.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. What comment or action did they take?
The applicant,
Yes.
after hearing the planning commission's recommendation, contacted our staff and said, we want to change our proposal and provide public access.
Thank you.
So that'll go to council next Tuesday.
Excellent.
Clarifying question. What degree of public access?
I don't know the specifics of it. In fact, I don't know the particulars of
Like us, that's more than 1/4, I think.
it. Yeah, I don't know. Can I say something else?
Yes.
Thank you. Just on schedule stuff. Tonight, we've got, after the two public hearings on the code amendments, your then work session, for you guys to continue deliberations on the UGA proposals. And then we've got, those can carry over also to next week's meeting on November 6th. Yeah, if necessary. And then we are looking at the November 13th meeting, 2 weeks from now, to reconvene on and finish your deliberations on chapter 8, the natural resource chapter. So I think we got through ag, resource lands, but not forest lands or mineral lands. So, I think, Eileen sent you guys some of the motions that are still, on that. And then through November 20th would be tentatively the land use chapter, which is where all the UGAs and the rural lands and live, the maps, proposed map changes, as well as goals and policies. Then following that, December 4th would be chapter 3 housing, and tentatively the Blaine UGA proposal. The Blaine staff wanted some time, depending on what happens next week with the election on the deed annexation, to be able to reformulate their proposal as well as council's actions. And then December 11th would be the grand public hearing on Whatcom plan, on everything, and all the appendices. Eileen will let you know, I think is going to query you if needed. If you needed more time past December 11th, would that following week, December 18th, or the 16th would be the Tuesday, or the 18th, that Thursday. That's a week before Christmas, but she's gonna just poll you to see if tentatively you guys are available or not, if we needed to have a meeting.
Right.
Could we push up one of those chapters ahead and not have a second UGA one? Seems like it'd be better to keep the UGA stuff, since we've visited so many times, as extra stuff we can get to if we have time, but that schedule doesn't allow us, except for one day, if we don't get through any of those new chapters,
Yeah.
which that doesn't give us a lot of time. Seems like there's a good chance of, there's at least two more. We might not get through both of those in one night.
You mean, well, there's 3 chapters you haven't seen yet. Chapter 10, environment, chapter 2, land use, chapter 3, housing. Those,
Even more than if we can bump one of those up and not do the whole nother meeting on the UGAs. It's just my feeling. I don't know how other people are
I'm
feeling.
confused because the UGAs are part of chapter 10, or they are,
chapter 2.
oh, chapter 2, right?
Land
You
use.
haven't seen chapter 2.
Right.
As a whole, or there might be other zoning amendments we might want to make in chapter 2 other than UGA.
It's the goals and policies that go along with rural lands, resource lands, the comp plan designations on the map.
Right,
So,
but chapter 2 is zoning, so we should have an opportunity to make any changes we want to propose to chapter 2 outside of the narrow scope you're defining.
well, we have been, right? So you've been talking about UGAs for
Right,
months.
but let's say
So-
within rural lands or other areas outside of the zoning aspect of those lands, not just sorts of definitions that we've been talking about.
Yeah, we've talked about that internally. The chapter is everything, right?
Okay,
And so, and the UGA proposals are obviously the most problematic of those to date, and getting finality on what those.
so that means on the 20th, we can talk about other things related to chapter 2 in addition to UGAs, correct?
Well, right, but I think the conversation is, we're gonna talk about UGAs tonight, we're gonna talk about UGAs next Thursday. And if you needed more time to talk about UGAs, we could do that on November 20th when we talk about land use as well.
No, I just want to talk more about rural lands.
That would be November 20th on chapter 2.
Right. That's, okay, that's, I just wanted to verify and not say, well, we can't talk about.
No. It's just a matter of, trying to
Yeah, okay, that good, thanks.
trying to get stuff in. We can't get chapter 2 or 3 to you until we get some finality or some of your preliminary recommendations on the UGAs. That then we can package that chapter together and bring it back to you. So that's kind of the push and pull of the schedule and the timing.
Yeah, it just seems like we've reviewed the UGAs multiple times and then either people look at them and again, and then we get them again, and then we look at them and then they come back to us again, so.
Right, we've raised issues for compliance issues, staff has to the cities, and that's why they prepared those addendums to come back and address those issues, whether it was ag designation or floodplains or what have you. So those are issues that staff has requested for compliance reasons that we needed the cities to address. Which they have, those are in your packet, you know, so.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
One of my outstanding issues with Blaine's proposed changes to the city limits is it's not only we lost 1,000 housing units, but they're also the applicant on the owner is now asking for a de-designation as the city, which is probably going to cause a significant property tax shift. So I don't know where we fit that into the conversation. But other than the fact that I will express, I'm not real happy about that. So.
And when did you say we're doing chapter 10?
November 13th,
13, so I've got chapter 8 on the 13th,
8 and 10.
oh, 8 and 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had the hearing on 8. And you guys got through, which was ag lands, forest lands and mineral lands, and you got through, I think, discussions on the ag lands, but not mineral lands and forest lands.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have a lot more potential motions or deliberations on those issues or not. But chapter 10 is a big one. That's got water resources and stuff like that, so.
Go ahead.
Lydia, I guess I would suggest we just schedule in the 18th of December, cause I think you're right, Dominic, we're gonna like definitely run over from that and all that stuff.
Yeah, it'll be either 18th or 15th.
And personally, I'd rather address finish the resource lands with the UGAs next week than try to do the resource lands and the environment all in one, because I'm sure the environment's gonna take a full meeting if we do. Would be my guess that.
Good guess.
So we talked about that and we can put that, because chapter 8 doesn't need another public hearing, you have already had that. We can just schedule it as a work session and further discussion next week. So if that's the will of the commission, we can do that.
So the 6th will be patient upkeep.
So that would be November
I
6th.
think that's what they could do.
Yeah, we still have city county UGA proposals for Columbia Valley, Bellingham and Ferndale. That next Thursday as well, but council's actions has taken action on 2 of those already, so if that helps your deliberations. That might go quicker. Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Personius, Director Personius?
Lame duck.
When do you?
It was pointed out to me yesterday in a meeting.
So when are your feet up in the air?
I don't know.
Those are the.
Who knows? Next spring.
I
sometime.
was trying to get stick with the lame duck.
Go ahead, Eileen.
So would the commission like me to schedule December 18th as another meeting? And I can send that out? Since I have a quorum here,
Yeah, maybe we should weigh in. I would prefer the 16th
Tuesday, the 16th.
and, but maybe some others would like.
Sorry, which month?
December.
Commissioner Hanson.
Well, from my perspective, since the administration managed to boggle the whole consultant situation, so the consultant ended up giving us the product months and months too late, that we shouldn't try to distort our personal lives by trying to rush through finishing reviewing it. And we should go ahead and move it move it into December, and if it doesn't make some artificial deadline, it won't be the end of the world.
Go ahead.
I'm already distorting my personal life just to be on the commission. So I'm missing a football game tonight. So,
Yeah.
you know, and not the pro one, high school.
Oh, that's worse.
It is. And so I think we cram it in.
Personally, I would almost rather have 2 in 1 week than start getting into the Christmas area, but
I can go.
that's my opinion, and maybe everybody, you could communicate with staff what you think. But Commissioner Brown,
Yeah, I can't remember, when did we do the last one? We didn't do it at the deadline, we did it past the deadline.
Yeah, they usually take longer. I mean, everyone is different, but they, yeah, just the amount of involvement.
So if we don't meet December, it's not like we get our license pulled.
No, I mean, the deadline is December 31st, but, in the past, as long as State Department of Commerce knows you're making progress, and we obviously are, they don't get involved, but technically, we don't meet that deadline, then starting in January, the county may be ineligible for, certain grants and funding from the state. So that's the downside.
hey, go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
I think my only thought for getting it done soon is there might be a change of electeds on January 1st, whatever it is. So that's be kind of like a little uncertainty there, as to what might happen. But I guess I agree with you, Jim, that, it's kind of artificially pushed on us, and December is not, it's technically a deadline, but, yeah, nobody's gonna die if we don't get done by then. But I also think there's some practical considerations to get this thing wrapped up and out the door, before wherever those changes are, may or may not happen.
Any other questions for this audience? I think most of you know that I'm retiring about the time he is, so.
Oh,
Well,
we should push it off then.
I think your term is up the end of June.
January.
Yeah.
Oh, are you staying past January?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna work a long time.
Yeah.
We can torment you a lot longer.
I don't care if we get it done or not. Commissioner Dunn.
I'll just go back to Eileen's original question, then I guess, whether we do on the 18th of December. I would say, yeah, to the 18th. And then if we get up there, we got a lot more stuff to do, then maybe closer on, we can say, yeah, to the 16th as well. Do you want that to be an ocean?
No.
No.
How's everybody else feel? Any particular date?
Either one for me.
I would prefer to keep them on Thursday. I'd use up all the Thursdays, and then if we have to add them, just because it seems like everybody has Thursdays available. I'm not opposed to adding other ones, but I would at least exhaust the Thursdays first.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You got it?
Okay,
We're not meeting on Thanksgiving.
No.
I think it's every Thursday from now until almost Christmas,
Yeah.
except for Thanksgiving.
okay, so, it's the time for annual code amendment, public hearing, 2 public hearings and work session. And it's Rufus Clark and Maddie, Brock. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but. So go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, my name's Maddie Schott. In case we haven't met yet, I'm the new senior planner in the long range division. I stepped into Cliff's position when he retired. So I'm going to be introducing our first public hearing tonight, which, as you said, is for preemptive state requirements regarding accessory dwelling units and co-living standards. So this is a part of our 2025 periodic update for the comprehensive plan. And these are specifically to address preemptive state regulations that the state has already passed and said that jurisdictions need to comply with. So it's a part of our periodic update to get up to speed with what the current state law is. And like I said, It's preemptive, meaning that the state law will go into effect on December 31st, regardless of what's going on with our comprehensive plan, because that's when it's due. So we're wanting to get these amendments rolling now and get them codified before the preemptive requirements take over, which aren't very specific to Whatcom County. So we included a staff report for you guys explaining what the requirements are. There are some exemptions, and then in Exhibit A, we have some recommended code amendments for you guys. We are happy to answer any questions that you have, and we can pull up the code to go over it with you after the public hearing. But that's all I have for now. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions. But yeah, thank you.
Any clarifying questions at all? Not about why, but clarifying if there's something that you have a question about. Commissioner Ferris.
Yeah, in the staff memo. Page. Well, I'm trying to find the page, but I believe that agriculture, rural forestry, and general commercial zones that were in the UGA were being proposed to not include the preemptive, not include some of these updated regulations in it. Then when I went to the code, it was just agriculture and rural forestry that were mentioned, but not general commercial. Did I read that right or wrong?
So I was hoping we could go over that after the public hearing. I think that's what procedurally we're supposed to do, but you're correct that we are exempting some of the areas because technically they're in UGAs. But we don't think from a land use perspective, it's appropriate to allow 2 ADUs per lot in some of these areas. So
yeah, I was just asking because I thought that the way I read the staff memo didn't match the way that the code was, but if we want to do that after the hearing, that's fine. Well, maybe people don't, nobody in the hearing has comments on it, that's fine.
yeah, do you want to, could you say that one more time for me? Are you talking about the rural commercial zone or resort commercial?
I found it on page 4, the last paragraph, that's in the middle of the page before it switches to the RCW 36708. So it says, well, some areas of the GCAG and rural zoning districts are located in the urban growth. I think staff's proposing to not include the updated language for those, but then when I went into the actual code, I didn't see the GC district excluded in the code. I just want to make sure I read that right, or if the code and the staff memo were contradictory.
Right. So we are proposing to exclude it, like you said, from GC, ag, and rural forestry. So if you look at the proposed code in Exhibit A, you'll see it's like the very first 3 or 4 sections. Because it's not being added, we don't have to amend that code section. So we're adding ADUs when consistent with 208910 as a permitted use. Right now, they're already allowed as an administrative use in those zones that you see in that table in the existing code.
On page 4 of the Exhibit A, up at the bottom, there's letter B. It says within urban growth areas excludes Lake Whatcom watershed overlay district, agriculture, and rural forestry zones. I was thinking that the general commercials should also be on that line.
So,
Oh, you mean within the title?
okay, and I don't want to get too far where we're starting to change.
Yeah.
But we do want to have a public hearing.
That's fine. I'm just trying to, I feel like I'm asking a clarifying question, but let's just do the public hearing if people are uncomfortable.
When she started saying, well, we could change that or so on, and I was.
Sure, let's just do the public hearing.
Okay, so let's open the public hearing on ADUs. Eileen, would you take over, please?
As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website. Since I have no attendees online, I will go with those in the room. Would anyone like to speak on this public hearing? Seeing no hands, Chair?
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Maybe go ahead. And you can continue the discussion with Commissioner on the stage.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm understanding right. The intention was to exclude agricultural, forestry, and general commercial, right?
That's correct.
And is B on page 4 not where that is happening?
Let
Within
me
our-
pull up the code here so we can all take a look at the same thing. 1 second. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm on page 4 here. And you're saying in the title.
Yes, where it says within urban
Yes.
growth areas excludes this, but it doesn't have the general commercial. And so I just didn't know if the staff memo was wrong or if it should be in there.
I think it should be in there. That's just an oversight.
Okay.
Okay.
Maddie, can you make a one page per?
Good eye.
Yes. Can you see that better?
Yeah. Make it a bit bigger. And
Bigger?
yeah. Most of us are over 40.
Okay, too big.
That's wonderful.
Okay. I will make that change. Okay.
So
Great. Any other questions, edits?
But.
well, I actually disagree with removing general commercial. And the reason I'll state is one of the logical places to put accessory dwellings is above retail.
I'm not arguing, I just wanted to clarify, because I thought that's what the memo said, and I didn't see it in the actual code language, so I'm open for whatever discussion, I just wanted to make sure I knew the intent.
No, if the intent is to maintain consistency, great, as long as we have a debate about it, so.
So the question is, does it include general commercial?
Well, the question was, if I understood your question was, did the exclusion title include general commercial? So changing the title reflects what staff have asked for. It's not necessarily what I think we should vote on. Or vote for.
My question then is, should it change?
Well, I'd make a motion to change it because I think if you have general commercial in the UGA area, why not allow accessory dwellings on the property, particularly above it?
Good, Commissioner Dunn.
Could I make a more broad motion that includes that, and then we can discuss that if you want?
Sure.
I sent out some motions, late today, and so broadly, I think my critique is that, I feel like we're trying to kind of like, maybe kind of like weasel around some things here, like there's the RCWs, which are pretty clear. They say refer to the guidance, and the guidance is pretty clear, and I think we're sort of kind of trying to make our own rules here. I don't think we need to do that. I think if we just follow the law, follow the guidance, should be good to go. So the guidance has a list of 9 things they're supposed to do in unincorporated UGAs as well as in cities. And so I suggest we do all those things, and I would start with my motion for zoning. Okay, yeah, so my first motion there, which be comply with RCW 36.70.681(1)(c) and allow at least 2 ADUs on all lots that are located in all zoning districts within a UGA, allows for single family homes. So for that one, my reasoning is UGAs are where we're planning on growing. The areas that are the zones that are being excluded are small. And both the law and the guidance says that we should allow all the zones within a UGA to have 2 ADUs on them. And I think we should.
So we have a motion on the floor, which I'll withdraw.
Oh, sorry.
I apologize, because I.
No, that's fine.
Wait, did you need a second for your motion?
No, no,
Oh, yes. Right up.
Okay, so I'm talking about. Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
so can you restate your motion?
Yes, do you wanna pull it up there?
It's right there.
Cool, yeah, so the motion is to allow at least two ADUs on all lots that are located in all zoning districts within a UGA that allows for single family homes.
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
And Maddie, I was wondering if you could pull up a map, of the, county or the UGAs. And so we can look specifically at the areas that you're hoping to exclude from this requirement.
Yes, I can do that. Let me pull up the staff report here. 1 second.
And Maddie, looking, I think just also broadly with that, I feel like we should comply with the law and then within the law, allow people to do as much as possible what they want to do with their property. So if somebody wants to build 0 ADUs, that's great. Don't build any ADUs. Someone wants to build 1 or 2, that's great. Build 1 or 2. But I feel like we can as a government agency, if we can back out a little bit from people's lives and let them make their own decisions, that seems generally best.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Actually, I'm gonna yield because I want to pull up some data, so you're still someone else does.
Can I? Amy Keenan, Special Projects Manager, and I'm here to help Maddie. So are you asking for, because we do allow, say, a single family residence on an existing lot of record in the general commercial, but we don't allow you to subdivide to put new housing in. And so under your proposal, you would want 2 ADUs allowed on a lot that had a single family residence. And the LAI is the same way. We don't necessarily allow single family residences unless they're already there on a lot of record.
Correct, yeah, so if a single family residence is prohibited because it's on a wetland or it's in something, then yeah, obviously not. But if you allow a single family home there and it's in the UGA, then I think you should also allow 2 ADUs.
And then I would like to clarify, not in Lake Whatcom watershed.
I would argue for that as well, but I can be flexible on that if there's
Just clarification.
yeah, well,
That's inconsistent with the current comp plan.
well then, not in
Yeah,
okay.
I would suggest that. Yeah, also on the ag, there's only one I can think of ag zoning designation that's in a UGA and it's in Ferndale. And Ferndale has specifically asked us not to promote any development in adjacent to their UGA or within those zones that are not urbanized yet, because it makes, the more density you put into those low density areas makes it harder to urbanize in a higher density in the future, right? If you allow more subdivisions or more units to come in. So wouldn't recommend that for the ag district or for rural forestry, which the only one of those is the one Columbia Valley, which we're intending to rezone to light impact industrial. One of them, and then the other one is very steep slope area that we wouldn't want to promote residential development, more residential. So that's why those exclusions are in.
We do have ag in the UGA in Linden and Nooksack as well.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem, just fundamentally with preemptive state laws that affect all cities and all counties, regardless of their unique situations. So, we're just trying to tailor this to our existing code and our existing situations with some areas in UGAs. So.
That's right, Maddie, can you zoom in on the map there so you can maybe show us specifically where we're talking about?
So this map shows our urban growth areas in pink, and then obviously the cities are in yellow. And it shows all of them. It doesn't necessarily exclude GC ag and rural forestry, because when we were rereading the state code, we realized when we were initially reading it, we read it as in residential zones, which is our UR, URM, URMX zones, but it actually says in all zones that allow for residential development, which is a little different. So this map is a little older. So it does show all of the zones that allow for, residential development. It doesn't exclude some of those ag, rural forestry, or general commercial. But this is
Yeah, so-
generally the areas.
I guess what I'm asking is, can you show me a map that shows us exactly the areas you're talking about? So this is a map of broad thing, this might not be the right map, but can you zoom in on a map specifically what you're talking about?
I mean, we could pull up the tax parcel viewer. There's quite a few areas, but we didn't have a map prepared for exactly what you're asking for.
So, this is the comp plan zoning map that's up here, so it will have the general commercial zones on it, it'll have the ag zones on it. And you can see which ones are inside the UGL.
This is,
If you could point out the areas you're talking about.
so this is the Birch Bay Urban Growth Area, Blaine Urban Growth Area, Ferndale, City of Bellingham. We got Linden, that's ag, Nooksack, the purple here. And then the urban growth area in the Columbia Valley. This little chunk there, that's a GC in the urban in that urban growth area. So they're the general commercial or the commercial type zones are relatively small in those UGAs. This one, GC, is this little tiny block right there and that block right there. So the bigger zone or the UGA is by and large the UR zones with really small chunks of sort of existing development that are that general commercial.
So in the GC zone, currently single family homes are allowed?
They are allowed on an existing lot of record, so you could not do a subdivision to create new lots for single family residential, but you could, if there was an existing lot there, you could put a house on it.
And just to follow, to take this thread out, so you put a house, so in GC, for example, you put a house there, you could put a 2,000 square foot house, you put a 5,000, you put a 10,000 square foot house there if you wanted to. And then it sounds like your argument is that you could put a 10,000 square foot, maybe I might have a family of 20 people, so I could put a 10,000 square foot house and 20 people in there, and that'd be just fine. But it would be bad if I put a 2,000 square foot house and then 2 ADUs that had 8 people.
I think the argument is that we should save those for commercial uses versus residential, because the outright permitted uses are automobile repair, restaurants, that sort of thing. We have very limited of that in the urban growth area. The UR zones don't necessarily allow for that. So I think it's not that we would prohibit them necessarily, but that those general commercial zones are more suited for actual commercial uses versus residential.
They're better suited for creating jobs, right? And urban residential zones are for housing. But that's the distinction. We don't have a lot of commercial lands left, so we try not to promote too much residential development on those.
So we have two commissioners that would like to speak, and I want to make sure we get her name while we're having the discussion. The questions are related to the topic, so Commissioner Brown, go ahead and.
So, let's start with the second one first. I think you're both right in the sense that I think we do want ADUs in the commercial zone, but I also think we want to protect the ability to do commercial development. So that's where, and maybe the nuance here is you can have an ADU, but it has to be an accessory to the commercial. And it has to be above the commercial, for example. Because you do want people living close to where they're working. So
We have, we already allow attached ADUs. Amy.
Yes.
We allow attached ADUs.
In the general commercial, I don't know, never had that question. I have to look real quick.
It just,
But I would say that ADUs are accessory to a single family residence, so we'd have to relook at, not impossible, but we would never look at an accessory dwelling unit as a commercial. Yeah, but we may,
if you want to build it in a lot of urban areas, they say, yeah, you can build a housing as long as you put retail on the bottom. Or commercial on the bottom.
right. We have that. We have the URMX zone, which is a mixed use zone.
Right.
Allows that.
So that was my first point, but the point I was going to bring up, and I've just emailed this to Eileen. So Eileen, if you don't mind sharing it later on. I did a research of published statistics on ADU uptakes in other jurisdictions, and they're shockingly low. Portland's 2% of total single family lots have an ADU. Seattle, it's less than 2%. Olympia, it's less than 1%. San Fernando is 8%, but that was after they did some pretty significant code change, I believe. Or incentives, I think it was actually. Oregon, about 2%. Well, you know, Seattle's 98% of single family lots, 2015, had no ADUs. So my point is I wouldn't worry that we're suddenly going to get overwhelmed with ADUs everywhere, because it just doesn't, it hasn't happened anywhere so far.
Right, right. It's a minor,
Yeah.
piece of the total housing stock in most communities,
Yeah,
but
and to Dan's point, if someone wants to do it, I don't want to discourage them, because it's hard to find people who want to do it.
as long as it doesn't preclude future urbanization of parcels.
Right.
And that's why we're not suggesting it should go into forestry lands in UGAs or ag lands in UGAs. Those are intended for higher intensity urban uses in the future.
Although,
The cities will just tell you it's harder, right, when there's more scattered low density units on 5 or 10 acres for them to urbanize that in the future. Versus a raw piece of land with nothing, but that's a lot easier to.
I'm a little jaded about the cities after what Blaine did with the 1,000-unit development. But it is the city limits.
It's the cities that operate sewer and public sewer and public water, and we don't, so,
Yeah.
you know, they're the ones that get the growth.
Commissioner Masseri.
Can you speak to how the zoning occurs in the UGAs of the cities? Because I get it on, you know, like Birch Bay, Columbia Valley, right? Just the county work designates that zoning.
Right.
What about the zoning in the UGAs of the cities?
It's our zoning,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very low density in, because the cities generally don't extend sewer and water into the UGAs unless they annex that property.
But looking at those, a lot of those UGAs around those cities have some different zonings than just ag and forestry.
We have LII, low impact industrial, in some areas that had developed over the years. Yeah,
I thought there was some
annexation.
URs and stuff there too.
Only at that density, only if they're served by sewer. Right, you have to have public sewer and water to get to those densities.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, why don't we just downzone those more in the UGAs?
Well, that's, the city of Ferndale has asked, not so much the UGA, but the urban reserve,
Why?
that next, you know.
Well, right, and that discussion was
Right.
R10, right?
Right,
Yeah, and I got that, but seems like there could be a little bit more nuance in the actual UGAs of, you know, if they're concerned about what they're gonna inherit from that, wouldn't that be the time to do it when things get moved into UGAs?
yeah, and that's prompted the conversation about us looking at, re-looking at the urban reserves. And working with the cities on potentially downzoning some of the adjacent areas adjacent to their UGAs. It seems to be an issue, more of an issue with some cities than others. With the small cities, you know, in the East County and Linden, right, they're largely surrounded by Ag 40 zoning, so it's not an issue for them, but their challenge is expanding into de-designating ag land, which is something Ferndale doesn't necessarily have.
Right, we have Commissioner Hanson, and we have Commissioner Eisenberg and Commissioner Brown.
I lost track of what motion we are considering, but when the topic of auxiliary addressing dwelling units in rural forestry comes up, it raises great concern with me, because those are remote areas in which we put more people and we have a responsibility to provide services for those people, be they public safety, fire, what have you. So according to what we've got in chapter 8, when it discusses rural forestry, it indicates we should take steps to try to limit population growth in those areas, so I wouldn't want to see that included in any provision for accessory dwellings.
Commissioner Eisenberg.
That was also similar to I'm actually looking at the South Alderwood final report, and I'm actually in the UGA. And so when you say water and public sewer, we've been trying to build ADU on 2 of our lots, and keep getting held up because of extra flow water meter and being not up to 5/6 because they're 3/4, and being in the largest UGA in the Alderwood Marietta and having the most amount of people interested in actually building ADUs here. I'm just curious to know from staff, what are some ideas to help 3,000 plus people who live in the Alderwood Marietta or South Alderwood UGA, ways to connect. And then also, I haven't heard heavy industry. I believe that in the UGA that I'm currently in, there is also zoned heavy industry. And I'm just concerned about that, especially since we had to fight a metal shredder being next to 3 schools and 2 daycares for the last 3 years. So my questions are what as a commissioner am I able or allowed to do in helping our public understand why we're not able to build ADUs in the UGA because of the infrastructure of water? And then to Dan's motion about septic, Dan, I don't think the ADU in South Alderwood has septic in it, and if they do, it's been over like 60 years, and those folks that have wanted to build ADUs and that say you need to upgrade to water with the city and sewer can't get that. So even if we change these policies and these motions, there's still barriers of how long it's going to take to build that infrastructure. So I just want to be mindful of that as a current citizen in the UGA trying to build ADUs, along with like a lot of other neighbors that want to do the same thing and be part of the solution. And we're having a lot of difficulties with getting permits. So no question there. It's just a comment and maybe open for discussion on some creative ways of like composting toilets or watering catchment systems or anything that would help us to create we would like to build ADUs. And there are a lot of folks here near both the schools that also have those large lots. And we're being told we can't build ADUs because we don't have the services out here. So it's kind of a chicken and an egg, and we're really being held up year after year when all of us really want to build these ADUs. And if we do have 2, you're looking at doubling the density in one UGA within, a year if we had that kind of infrastructure.
Commissioner Brown, I think you had a question and.
We had a lot of discussion about expanding affordable housing in Lammerts. How does this tie into it, or are we doing, is the intent to allow ADUs in Lammerts, and does this allow us to do it under the law or what?
Where those zones, if those urban residential zones are in Lamberts, then yes. There you're subject, it's a sewer and water issue again, right?
Because we were talking about Raspberry Ridge, we were talking about Custer, and we were talking about Pole Road.
I don't know.
UG or our Lammerts are not UGAs.
Yeah.
So in this proposal here, we're only looking at ADUs in UGAs. That would not be a Lambert thing because Lammerts are in our rural areas, which we're gonna deal with at some other time.
So my question is, what is the mechanism that lets us get the density that we were talking about in the Lammerts?
We're proposing upside. You guys have already recommended.
Oh, so it's just it's gonna be an upside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Amy's point, remember, this state statute only applies to UGAs. So.
And just to answer, sorry, part of Commissioner Eisenberg's question about HII, there is HII in the UGA, but this preemptive code is only for zones that allow for residential development, and HII does not. So it's not a part of this preemptive code.
Thank you, Maddie.
And just for clarity, so it's nothing we're doing that would allow us to increase or even add ADUs to the Lammerts.
No. There have been bills introduced in the legislature in the last several sessions to get ADUs clarified about their legality in rural areas outside of UGAs. But it hasn't been able to get passed yet, but we keep working on it every year, so.
So the ICWs would even prevent us even if we wanted to, they.
Right. They now separate very distinctly about allowance of ADUs in UGAs versus.
Right. Thank you.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I think, Sneda, maybe just to circle back to a comment you made in our last meeting about, farm worker housing, sort of the need for that and where we put that, especially in ag areas. I think my motions are all oriented towards, like, let people build houses, and if they want to. And I feel like the way the code is being written is sort of, trying to get in the way of that. But I think what the state intends is allow people to build ADUs in UGAs, full stop. And so my motions are to encourage that. And hopefully some of these would help you build your ADUs, your neighbors building ADUs, and would also help folks who are in slightly more rural areas also build housing, which hopefully would make housing more plentiful and potentially more affordable.
Yeah, no, Dan, I agree with you. And I saw your motions. I read them very carefully, but I've also been in Seattle a lot lately for the Cascadia Innovation Corridor Conference when we're talking about transit development. And so sometimes people don't always want to work where they live because they want that separation as well. And what I'm saying is I'm for your motions. I'm going to completely agree with you on this one. And I'm saying that it's not the zoning or the policy that's being prevented. It's the infrastructure that's not there. We're being told by the planning department that, hey, it looks great, your site looks great, the house looks great, all of it. Sorry, you can't put your fixture count is too high, and it's a small ADU, and it's because we have a pipe that goes to the city main line in the Bennett Drive on the street that is too small, and they won't upgrade it, and then we can't pay to upgrade it, because it has to be the whole entire space, the whole entire like water line. So that's more of my question is like, well, how are we going to build these ADUs when people want them? And your motions speak to that, but then who's going to be helping to provide that infrastructure to help that? And so my concerns are we need to be thinking outside the box water and catchment systems, on-site microgrids. We need to be looking at what other cities around the world that are innovating sponge cities to do composting toilets, like Bundle, like Dan from Bundle, like Jill in the Birchwood neighborhood got allowance from the city, but we can't do that in the UGA. And that is my concern. And those were my comments, not so much of your motions, because I actually agree with you on them. It was more so about the infrastructure for the water and those that have septic that are being told that they can't build ADUs because their septic is outdated, but then you can't get a new septic system, either for affordability or because there's no place, you'd have to take out the old one to put in new. And that's really onerous and costly on the private citizens ownership. So again, I agree with your motions. And again, it's not about that. It's about the actual implementation of the ADUs because the infrastructure is lacking.
Director Persona to please wanted to comment.
Yeah, Commissioner Eisenberg, thank you for the comments. We have been coordinating with the city of Bellingham on that area of the Bellingham UGA. And you will see policies in both the city's comp plan and in our comp plan in chapter 2, the land use chapter, when you get it in November, that speak to specifically working with the city to look at the Elderwood, Birchwood UGA, and address the issues of not only compatibility of zoning between industrial and residential, but also looking at the potential for the city to annex that area and extend urban services, which would then be able to get the infrastructure that you need to do ADUs. But we're not the service provider, the city is. So that requires that joint coordination. But we are putting policies in both our plan and the city's plan that would say we would work together after this comp plan update process to keep working on that.
Thank you so much for that update. And I do really appreciate that, especially moving into this area and seeing that annexation has been on the list for almost a decade. So I'm very excited to hear that news. And that makes me happy.
And Commissioner Terry, I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson because I think it might relate specific to this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just note that I've spoken to city council members and the mayor and to county council members about the issue of extending these services, and each party points to the relative poverty they have on their tax base as a barrier to providing services, whether they be public safety or public health services. So I think they could make all the policies and plans they want, but they're gonna need to do something dramatic on the funding side to make this happen, whether like Rudd says, do some sort of LID, but you're gonna find that money is a bigger barrier than policy.
Commissioner Masseri, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that we're getting, we're getting code force from the state, but it's kind of, I think it still is important to think about the long range planning, right? And so I can get the argument of not wanting to encumber these larger tracts, the forestry, the ag with this, because yeah, one, the uptake on ADUs seems less. If those, I think really if those areas would just get incorporated, then you would get, you'd be able to get more housing than just your extra one ADU, right? You're gonna be able to, densify that whole area and get ADUs on them if they're in the city, right? So I think long-term, if we do anything that inhibits kind of how that can get developed out once it is incorporated, you might be getting a little short-term bump, but losing long-term density. Something to consider.
You wanna?
We have a motion on the floor. Okay.
There's a second, right?
And a second.
We read the motion, Beth.
Commissioner Dunn moved to comply with RCW 36.70A.681. 1C and allow at least 2 ADUs on all lots that are located in all zoning districts within a UGA that allows for single family homes. And Commissioner Brown seconded.
Commissioner Masseri.
The way that motion is, it's sounding like if I vote against this, I'm voting to not comply with the RCW, which I don't want to not comply with any.
So that we should go for it.
So
Anarchist.
I guess staff doesn't believe that we need to do that to comply, correct?
Right. Commissioner Brown.
Point of order, you may vote against this. I'm putting another motion on the floor that you feel does comply with the RCW.
I understand, the way that it's worded is you're voting to not, potentially not comply. So.
Just wait until you become an elected official.
Commissioner Eisenberg.
Couldn't we just remove then the words, the 2 words that say comply, and then it would allow us to be more flexible?
Yeah, we could, capitalize the word A in allow. Remove the first few letters. Do you wanna, Eileen, now do you pull the motion up here on the?
Right. Point of order, I think the right thing to do is to let this one play out and then put something else on the floor.
So, and I concur with you, but if we're talking about removing 2 words, I would ask Commissioner Eisenberg to make a motion to amend to pull out those 2 words.
I make a motion to amend 2 words, and keep the motion that Dunn has on the table, but just take out the word or let's see. Comply? Am I on number 2 or number, Dan, am I? Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
on a phone again.
But yeah, if we remove the word comply with RCW, the numbers, the word and then capitalize the word A and allow.
Yes, I agree with what he just said, and that would be my motion.
Do we have a second on the amendment?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Is there any discussion? I think, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Brown,
Sorry, where exactly is this going?
Amendment to the motion, right?
No, but where is it, what happens when we do this motion? Is it in the code? Is it, I don't know where this goes.
Oh, Commissioner Dunn, do you?
Yeah, there's several places in code where this goes, where they've, allowed, there are multiple places, I guess. It would be more direction to staff to say, hey, go through and allow this to happen throughout the code.
But what it's, would you explain the amendment? What it changes on from your motion?
Oh, the motion.
That was the question that Commissioner Brown had, is what does this do?
Yeah,
And
what's the
you-
effect of this motion?
So the motion that we're voting on, that we're discussing now, which is to remove some wording.
We have
Or the
an
main motion.
amendment. So it's the amendment. What is it removing from your motion?
No, that's not my question. My question is, if we vote on what is now on the screen, what does it do?
So I think I can answer, it would be direction to staff to revise the code and basically take out all the exceptions that we proposed. So it would allow it in the ag zone, it would allow it in rural forestry, it would allow it in general commercial. Any other zone that allows for single family, any UGA that we haven't already covered. But it would take out those exceptions.
So we have a motion to amend. Is there any discussion? Arlene, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Brown,
Yes, on the motion to amend.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Osari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
The amendment passes.
And Eileen, would you bring up the motion as Commissioner Dunn made, and perhaps he can work with you just to make sure we get the wording correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that wording looks correct.
Okay. All right, is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Hanson.
I think I'm going to oppose it because I really don't want to see additional accessory dwellings in either ag or rural forestry. The other ones, I'd be happy to see them there, but not those.
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Hanson,
No.
Jefferson,
No.
Osari,
No.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
I'll abstain on both sides.
That motion fails. Oh, Brown, sorry.
I know. I abstain too, because I just don't understand how this is gonna affect.
The
how
motion
this plays
fails.
out in what we're doing.
And I agree with the concept, but I'm not understanding exactly what it's doing here.
Unintended
I-
consequences.
I concur with some of Commissioner Hanson's feelings, and I concur with some of what you're trying to do.
Fair enough. I have several other motions, but I don't want to hog the limelight here. Does anybody else have?
Commissioner Hanson.
I just want to say, commend Commissioner Dunn for the diligent work he's done in reviewing this chapter and making these motions.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead with your next one.
Sure, yeah, so, my next motion is to comply with RCW 3670A. I'm just gonna delete that part. So my next motion is gonna be, to not require owner occupancy for ADUs anywhere.
Second.
Thanks, Edith. And my reasoning for this is, again, on the side of, I think it's a barrier to housing. And I think if you allow people to build a house and then occupy it or not occupy it, or rent it out, or live in it or not live in it, then there should be no reason that you would do the same thing with ADUs.
Can I still second it?
Yeah.
I see. Maddie, go ahead.
Great, thank you. So yeah, just to clarify, in the new preemptive code that we are recommending, we are not requiring owner occupancy. But we chose to not amend our existing code because there is some things in the works in the legislature to address ADU regulations in rural areas, but we're just not prepared to tackle that right now. So the whole point of this was just to try and address these preemptive requirements because there are different standards for ADUs in rural areas, which is why they are an administrative use. It requires more review and it has some more standards like that owner occupancy. And I think that's kind of discussed in the staff report, that this is specifically for UGAs and UGAs that allow for residential uses where those utilities are, where we're wanting to put that development. So that's where we're coming from. So it's not required for the new preemptive code, but we're not wanting to address our existing regulations at this time.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I hear you on that. This is also our code scrub. So the rest of the code is open for work as well. So this applies to ADUs throughout the county. I understand there's some things down the road, but I think we should get ahead of this, and I don't think there's any reason we should have owner occupancy required for ADUs anywhere in the county.
So Maddie, and thank you. Maddie, I'd like to ask you a question. So let's say that you have a couple that's aging and they have a couple of ADUs so they can stay in their home, and they have renters in those ADUs. And for some reason, they can no longer stay in their home. Then if they weren't allowed to do it, if the owner wasn't living in the main house, then wouldn't people have to move? Wouldn't the renters have to move?
So our current code, let me pull up my screen here so we can just all look at the same thing. Let me pull it up here. So this is our current standards, 2080 910 accessory dwelling unit standards. So it says the owners of the lot upon which the accessory dwelling unit is located shall occupy as their primary domicile at least one of the dwelling units on that lot. So that being said, they can be in the primary or they could be in the accessory dwelling unit, but they do have to live on the property. We have seen some people work around that if they have the property as part of a trust where there's multiple owners, that kind of thing. But we're not saying there's issues. There's not issues with our current code, just that we're not prepared to address them at this time.
Well, and the reason I bring it up because it's like, is it on the immediate schedule to be addressed? Because if that really happens, is people will have an ADU, they retire, they've got an ADU, and then for some reason medically they can't live on the property anymore, retirement homes. And so now, according to that, then it would be an illegal rental to have somebody in the ADU, at least until, let's say, the issue was addressed, like you talked about trust or things like that. I just think that it needs to be clarified in here. Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Commissioner Dunn, I'm gonna ask one question for you when you're doing this. I'd like to see the motion as it directly reflects the code, because then I can vote on. I think it's easier for us to vote on the change.
Deleting number 2 that was just up there on the screen.
That's fine.
I understand your point.
Yeah. So, but to that point, I'm not sure what this clause, I don't know the history of what this clause was what problem this clause was trying to solve. Do you have any sense?
No, it's been in code for a long time. It's an old standard that most codes had regarding ADUs because jurisdictions didn't necessarily want to see a proliferation in outside of UGAs, which is the issue here, right? And the state statutes that we're complying with doesn't apply to UGAs outside of UG. ADUs outside of UGAs. It only applies to regulating ADUs in UGAs. So that's all we've scoped, right? That's all we did from a SEPA standpoint was look at that impact. So there's liability here. You understand? It's going outside of the scope of this. Very significant liability for the county in adverse ways.
Yes, and like later on, we talk about density in general commercial. I've got a motion about that. So I think and this is the code scrubs. We're open, like to me, the code's open. So what is the liability for allowing owner occupancy in ADUs?
it's about changing a code that was changed some years ago to allow ADUs in outside of UGAs. There are folks and interest groups who vehemently oppose that because they see it as allowing too much density in rural areas. If you don't touch that code, it can't be appealed. If you start amending it, you open it back up to appeal. And there's no overarching state regulation yet, state statutory authority that grants up protection, that authority to change and allow ADUs in rural areas. So
Go ahead.
it's a very, very important subject that we shouldn't probably veer into until we get some statutory changes, which we are continuing to work with the legislature on.
This change wouldn't allow any more ADUs. It would simply remove a requirement from ADUs. So it would say, yes, you're not now allowed to build 10 in an ag land, whatever. Just say, hey, you got an ADU, if you're building one, if you're already allowed to build one, you don't have to.
That's not the
occupy.
issue. It's a legal issue about opening up this portion of the code to further scrutiny and legal appeal. A code that's been in place for years. So we don't have statutory authority from the state to allow certain things about ADUs in rural areas. There have been court cases in other counties where they got extremely limited in what they could do with ADUs outside of UGAs. That is not a position we would recommend pursue without state authority.
Commissioner Brown.
So I think to pivot on what you were saying, if I remember correctly, I was in the council when you cautioned us on this issue on the basis, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to paraphrase what you're saying. Maybe it makes it a little clearer. The process is if we touch the code and we make a change, we're automatically subject to an appeal within 60 days.
Yeah.
Right. If we have no appeal within 60 days, that code remains as written. But if the code is appealed within 60 days, you open up a whole cycle of challenge.
The entire code is now open to
Right,
interpretation.
right. So, or that entire code or that entire section of
Or
code?
that section.
Yeah, right. So I think that's what Mark's concerned about. And I actually share that concern because I think if memory serves me correctly, we were one of only a handful of counties that actually got ADUs in the rural areas, and most counties have been prohibited because of that appeal process. Is that right? Am I remembering my history correctly?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So, Mark, I'd like to ask this question. What would happen if we defined
Defined
what occupancy was? We have a definition of occupancy, thinking of someone getting ill and leaving their place. And the unit sits there vacant. That could be considered. I'm not saying we should do this, but I'm just brainstorming. Could we define that as occupancy? So my dad, when I moved him out of his house. Yeah, because he couldn't live by himself anymore.
I will say this, when someone comes in to get a permit for an ADU under that particular provision, that's when it's looked at, right? Are you living in one of the units? Yes, okay, great. After the permit is issued, we're not, to be frank, we're not knocking on your door every year and saying, are you the owner of this house? So just FYI.
The property is owned by Miscellaneous LLC. And maybe it would revisit the question, but not if it's owned by.
Again, we're not knocking on anybody's door, asking if you own the house.
Commissioner Hampton.
I want to ask about the relevance of vacation. Do we have ordinances limiting in any way vacation rentals on people's property? Because I have property in Island County in which the neighborhood is of maybe 40% houses that no one's living in, and they just rent them out in the summer. And I know they destroyed part of New Orleans. I'm not saying this is a tourist destination like some of those places, but I would be concerned if someone were to get hold of a piece of property and build multiple ADUs and use them as vacation rental, and maybe there's some ordinances that would limit that ability.
So we had adopted regulations as a part of the S&P, the Shoreline Master Program, and Title 20 of the zoning code in the past several years to allow short-term rentals as an accessory use.
If you're
In
an
our
occupant, if you're an occupant, right? Or no?
No, just any,
VRBO or whatever.
any home or an ADU can
So
be.
you don't have to live there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So some communities, and there's been some discussion at the council, there is some interest at the council about revisiting those. And some counties, I think that are more tourist oriented, put caps on them, or they put restrictions on homes, renting homes for short-term rentals. The argument is it takes them off the housing market, right, for long-term rentals or for sale units. But obviously it has economic benefits for property owners who have them and rent them out on a short-term basis. So right now, we don't regulate them, they're just an accessory use. That can always change. But it's interesting, given, we just saw an article the last couple of weeks from MRSC, the Municipal Research Services Corporation, down in Seattle. And they're saying because of the World Cup coming next year, they were actually advising cities and counties who have short-term rental restrictions to relax them and get rid of the caps, because there's gonna be a million people coming here looking for a place to stay.
Another.
We don't have that many hotels.
Another 100,000 living in tents.
Building goes out the window and.
Maybe they'll rent out part of their camp.
So in short, nothing in what we're proposing or in the state statute.
Okay, so there's no safeguards to
Regulations.
this phenomenon in our county.
Commissioner Matheny.
Well, I believe that we had, something came before us that then went to council to look at creating regulations for short-term rentals, and that will be coming back up at some point.
It's a funding issue because it costs a lot of money
Create
to
regulations.
create the program to regulate them. And that money has not been authorized yet, so.
Commissioner Brown.
Oh, you just picked at an open wound. I tried to get short-term rental legislation through the council. We started 8 years ago. It still hasn't gone.
That's how long it took.
Hey, what was that? What was that?
That's how long it took.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. By the way, you reminded me, one of the reasons this language actually makes sense as it is if you don't have this language, there are two things that are difficult. One is to stop the conversion of the primary residence and the ADU into a short-term rental. At the moment, you can only do one or the other. It can turn into a short-term rental. The other thing that historically, I was in favor of this legislation was an ADU. To me, the right role of an ADU is as a mortgage helper for a family to pay off primary residence. The downside with that is it's very hard to build an ADU unless you've got the capital to do it. And the capital tends to come from businesses. So the ADU gets constructed with the capital from a business. But the ADUs really should be there to help defray the mortgage costs to make the house more affordable for a family. So it's a tough issue.
It's a tough issue.
Commissioner Eisenberg.
Yeah, and to Red's point, and also kind of opening up a window on my end too, there is funding sources though through the Home Trust Fund of Washington, the Black Homers Initiative, and other sources through government funding and philanthropic dollars that actually take that home ownership model and help first-time buyers. And there's a lot of funding sources through different banking CDFIs. So yes, it is partly business, but there are multiple ways that you can leverage different grant contracts and different ways to pathways to affordable housing for first-time buyers. So, and ADUs actually have been known and you were quoting a lot of what I've read too with Portland, but to speak to that point of the low percentage, that just shows how much growth and opportunity that there are for ADUs, especially for folks that might just be here for as students or grandparents, multi-generational, and kind of leaning into some of the youth-led movements. And a lot of folks don't want cars, and coming out of the college classroom, there's a big disconnect and a knowledge gap in how much housing costs and how hard it is to stay. So I think approximately 70% of Western students leave Western because they can't find jobs and housing here that's affordable. And we don't have that type of, I can't remember what commissioner talked about it, but the long-term range and the long-term planning for short-term gain. So I just want to highlight Commissioner about 20 minutes ago talking about long-term planning and how ADUs actually can be one out of many solutions to help, especially in the UGA. So I just want to applaud that commissioner for talking about very long-term growth.
Commissioner Dunn.
I think Mark, I hear your concerns about opening, I guess, the can of worms of the ADUs, in non-UG areas. I think our job as a group is to provide advice to the county council. The county council can accept it or reject it. We don't set policy or make laws. So for me, voting for this would send a message to county council that we would definitely we would support this idea of moving owner occupancy. They might consult legal and say, nope, that's not the right time for it. We reject that time, which is totally fine. But at least we kind of have it on the record, like, hey, this is something that we support, is reducing owner occupancy. So I would speak for my motion.
Commissioner Hampton.
I'm just, I'm not sure, but is this motion specific to the UGAs?
Yep.
Okay, that's.
So that they're already allowing non-owner occupancy in UGAs, which is great. Thumbs up for that.
Okay.
This would be for anywhere in the county that the county controls.
Commissioner Massaro.
Yeah, and I get the level of concern you have, Mark, on opening us up to that, but also, gosh, I sure would hate that we're just afraid to do anything, anytime, because we're, any of this can be challenged, and so it kind of feels stifling to think, well, we're not gonna do anything unless the state gives us cover, right? So that's the only frustration I would have with that.
So I would like to speak, some of the things that I see is, I could see somebody just taking it without having an owner on it. They could just take property and basically it's a triplex, every single lot that they do. And I am not saying that is why they did it, but I wonder if that was the question with the state is. And of course, they're gonna have a price tag reflecting it also. I'm buying this lot and I'm gonna put 3 units on it, and I'll sell it. But
This would still only allow one ADU in those areas, right?
Yeah, the owner occupancy requirement doesn't change if you're allowed to have an ADU or not have an ADU or any of the critical areas or separate, any of that stuff. Just as sort of this arbitrary thing of like, well, you have to also own and occupy one of the units in order to allow to rent out some of the units. I think, Kelvin's ideas are definitely one of the things that just sort of seems like we should give people flexibility to use their land and property how they want. And part of that is if you have ADUs in a house, you live in one, and then you need to move off your retirement or move out of state or whatever, then you should be able to rent that out and should be like, oh, now I'm renting legally.
Right. Commissioner Brown.
I'd like to see the opportunity to expand ADUs everywhere. That being said, I do genuinely genuinely share Mark's concerns about opening that part of the code up.
Okay, so, Eileen, what's our motion on the floor?
Commissioner Dunn moved to not require owner occupancy for ADUs, and Commissioner Eisenberg seconded.
In any district. So
Commissioner Hampton.
Well, I guess I see the vision that Commissioner Barton brought up. If we have area zone one home for 20 acres and someone can go buy that 20 acres and put 3 homes on it, basically we triple the density in the rural areas, so, I think I would want to leave the owner occupancy in there.
Commissioner Masseri.
Just want to clarify, this doesn't allow people to do more ADUs than are already allowed there.
Correct.
Oh,
Just
it's not
change
two
the
there,
ownership.
two there.
Yeah, if they're allowed to do one, they could
Just two, sorry.
still do one.
Yeah, that, I got
Go ahead.
clause slippage, sorry.
Eileen, go ahead.
To clarify, it was just that or for all districts?
The motion was to not require owner occupancy of ADUs and maybe to clarify that throughout the right language there in any zone.
I think what you're saying is you wanted to strike number two. Really.
Yeah, that would probably be a better way of saying it.
And can we see that on the screen before?
We would get a court challenge.
Can you repeat the answer to Jim's question? Owner occupancy is required or isn't?
Yeah, currently, Julie, owner occupancy is required in areas of the county. The code change that's required by the state would remove owner occupancy requirements from ADUs within UGAs. And my motion is to remove owner occupancy requirements throughout the county in all zones. So it wouldn't allow more ADUs or new ADUs. It would just change the requirement so that you don't have to own and occupy in order to rent out an ADU.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, any other questions? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Hanson,
No,
Jefferson,
No,
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
No.
Barton,
No.
Fails.
close.
Yeah.
I want some people, I see things that should happen.
Yeah, this is easy.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair, just a timing question. We have 2 more public hearings tonight we need to get through and a lot more code changes, and we have 7 UGA proposals still from your work session tonight, and it's almost 7:30.
Home ownership than rentals, and I just want to be clear on that data set.
I could not tell.
It doesn't have to do with the motion. I'm just curious. I mean, I know that the motion failed, but it's hard to be an owner occupied ADU. If you're doing an additional dwelling unit, you're usually helping someone to get into housing. So I'm just kind of confused when we have such a high rate of rentals and not home or occupied. And if we want to change social mobility for people to have generational wealth, home ownership is the #1 way to do that. And if you allow people to rent first a small ADU to save money to then buy their first time home or put it in a deed restriction or a shared equity model, you are then opening up various ways that people who have traditionally been left out of the housing market because of redlining and historical practices in our county to access funds and necessary ways to have affordable housing. So I'm very passionate about this. And I'm a little bit disappointed in some of our commissioners that maybe don't understand ADUs as well.
Mark, what's our third public hearing? We have another public hearing on co-living housing and parking updates, and then we have another public hearing after that on the annual code amendments. And then we have 7 UGAs, and some of the city staffs are here. Okay, and I thought co-living and,
There were only 2, it was ADUs and co-living.
And just to be clear, co-living and co-housing are very different models.
go ahead.
Sorry, where are we in the process at the moment? What are we doing at the moment?
We are on ADUs right now. I think
But we are amending the code. Is there a discussion on the code amendments for ADUs?
yes.
Okay, fine.
I have like 3 more motions on ADUs and then a couple motions on co-housing and then a couple motions on some other stuff. that's in there as well. And then I also have, yeah, questions about the UGAs, so, a lot of stuff to get through.
No, one. Yeah, so.
So I guess that maybe just as to answer Mark's question, do we want to pause this conversation here and pick it up later, which is sort of, I feel like we've been doing that a lot recently, of like, or we want to finish ADUs and then.
I think we should finish ADU.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So we do need to get these amendments approved by the council
Right.
before the end of the year. So that's sort of the urgency of it. So we need your recommendations tonight.
So let's keep going.
Maddie, did you have a question for us?
Yeah, just to clarify, this public hearing is on ADUs and co-living. So we're presenting it together.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one time?
This public hearing is on ADUs and co-living together because they're both state preemptive codes. So that's why we packaged them together. Just to clarify.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Brown?
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just under code section 910, so 20.80.910, subsection B, subsection 1. It says, in addition to an existing permitted dwelling, there should be no more than 2 accessory dwelling units per lot if served by public sewer service, except as follows. If public sewer service is not available, should not be more than 1 accessory dwelling unit per lot. So first off, that sentence doesn't actually read right, because it's the first part of that, the first section says, if there should be no more than 2 accessory dwelling units per lot, if served by public sewer service. Right? And I think the intent is to say,
What page are you on?
I'm on page 4 in the packet. So I think the intent is, if not served by public sewer service, is the way I read what I'm trying to do. That being said, I'd actually like to strike this restriction, because if the land will support, it's not about ADUs, it's not about, it shouldn't be about the number of ADUs. It should be about the number of bedrooms. So if the area will support a second ADU, because you might have a 2-bedroom house with a 1-bedroom ADU and another 1-bedroom ADU. And if the soil will support the septic service, I don't know why we would specifically deny it, because it's not connected to a sewer. Does that make sense? So my motion is to change this language, so in addition to an existing permitted dwelling, there should be no more than 2 accessory dwelling units per lot, period. Strike the rest. That's my motion.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah.
Is it page 4?
It's page 4 of the miscellaneous paper.
Exhibit A, the first exhibit A.
Right down in the red there.
So, so my motion is after the words per lot. So it's got number 1. I would strike everything after the words per lot. No, next one down.
I think we're wrong.
Go up to include the word if.
Nope, we're in the wrong one.
One line up.
In addition,
Yep. One line down. There.
this one?
Yeah.
No,
Just the second one. Of 1.
Start here
Okay.
and delete down the road.
And delete all of that?
Oh,
Sorry, I'm in PDF form.
So it's a pain.
I will second that motion.
So the next 2 lines as well.
And A?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care of taking care of that.
Maddie's got her hand out for it.
I don't want to get ahead of Eileen.
It's okay. You can do it.
Maddie, go ahead.
I have the Word version up, if that's easier, Eileen.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here.
Appreciate it.
Yes, much easier in Word.
Going in too. Did you not?
So per lot.
Yeah, that's just looking down my screen.
I added into the record.
You did, okay.
I saw him.
So we have a motion for a second, Tina.
Commissioner Masseri.
Does staff have any comment about that change? Pro, yay or nay?
I think it kind of goes back to the earlier conversation that we had of saving those urban growth areas that are not on sewer yet, for larger or smaller amounts of development on there. Also, septic system and availability of septic systems is based upon bedrooms, but it's based upon soil. So you could need a large amount of space, thus tying up property in a UGA that would have a house and an ADU and a septic system or two ADUs or whatever. So it kind of goes back to that theory that we try to leave those UGA parcels as largely undeveloped as possible while we're waiting for them to get utilities and services. That's kind of the only thought I would have.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
Sure. I would just say, yeah, I feel like that is just sort of like also throwing up barriers to prevent people from building ADUs. I feel like if the septic system supports it, allow people to do what they want to do. If they want to build ADUs, great, build a couple ADUs.
Commissioner Brown.
I appreciate what you're saying, Amy, and my issue comes down to, it's so hard to build an ADU in the first place. So few people do it. And frankly, if I was ever gonna do it, I'd use a mobile structure. So that when there's a higher and better use for that lot, I'd simply relocate the mobile structure somewhere else. And I'm hoping that's something we can actually encourage.
Good point.
But
Commissioner Eisenberg.
Does anyone have off the top of their head the maximum ADU size for Whatcom County, and would that count for ADUs in the UGA? Because that's a difference in my quick math of about 400 square feet, which is about a bedroom size. Staff, do you know?
We allow 1,748 square feet accessory dwelling units.
Okay, and then the city is 800. Is City of Bellingham then 800?
The city of Bellingham is relatively a lot smaller than 1,748 square feet.
And so a UGA would be considered a city lot, or is like at the
No.
Alderwood? Okay.
The regulations allowed in the UGAs would be, would not matter which city UGA would be our lot and our regulations, and we would allow two accessory dwelling units at 1,748 square feet.
Okay, then maybe on the website of Whatcom County, underneath design criteria WCC 208910, can you change the 2 to a 7? Because it does say 1,248 square feet on the county's website.
It does. If you pay into our density credit program, you can get to 1,748 square feet.
Oh.
And then to your point earlier, though, then the bigger the house, then the bigger the septic system. And then again, the barriers to building ADUs, as difficult they are, do help density. So then again, what would be the solutions to the infrastructure? Because these policies, as much as I am enjoying them, I still feel like actionable items and ones that people want to do as solutions will go first before these policies because of the funding sources. So I'm just curious what staff has brainstormed or idea shared in spaces to help maybe incentivize and develop these ADUs for homeowners that do want them in the UGA.
Well, yeah, I would again say, on smaller UGA lots, if you don't have sewer, if the city won't extend public sewer and public water, then you're gonna have septic, and that's gonna eat up a lot of your lot. and likely restrict you from having two ADUs. So, and again, we don't provide utilities, the cities do. So, that's a city coordination issue. And as I mentioned before, we're working with the city of Bellingham on Alderwood and Birchwood to see what we can do about that going forward.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing. I do have concerns that the more that these places in the UGA get developed, if now let's say people start putting more ADUs on them, have bigger septics, they put the infrastructure in there. Now, when the cities are looking at expanding, they're gonna pencil even worse. These people aren't gonna wanna jump onto the sewer and water systems, and they're gonna have less opportunity to increase the density. We saw how the city already reacted to an area that, you know, had the utilities out there, and they were concerned about it. So we don't wanna make the UGAs less appealing to get incorporated, because again, then you're just further not getting that density. So that would be a concern I'd have with this.
Go ahead.
I guess with that, then you would be, you might be adding one or two houses here or there, and I think I'd agree with Rudd that, you know, it's not gonna be a huge uptake there. And, with a septic, you got an existing septic, I don't know if somebody's gonna redo their septic to make it a lot bigger for two ADUs, that's like kind of a lot of expense, more so if they already have capacity, they might put in one additional one.
Good luck.
But yes, I hear you.
Commissioner Brown.
Just remember, it's, at the moment, you can put an ADU in that's 1,700.
48,
So how many bedrooms could you put in there? You probably put in 4 bedrooms of that.
absolutely.
And it would be permitted under the code as proposed. But the code wouldn't allow
Not for
1-bedroom ADUs as proposed. That's my point. That's all. It's not, that the soil will be the limiting factor, I guarantee you. You're trying to put in extra bedrooms. It's the soil quality that's gonna limit you in the area. So that'll be it. That's a hard stop. I haven't seen any way around that one.
So, I mean, our conversation. On the floor.
We do have a motion and a second.
Okay, we treat it back.
Commissioner Brown moved to amend, section B1 on exhibit A to read, in addition to an existing or permitted dwelling, there shall be no more than 2 accessory dwelling units per lot, and strike out A of that section. And Maddie has it up on the board and how it would look like. And Commissioner Dunn seconded.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion on this?
And the part that was struck out, where's that?
You could only have one if it didn't have sewer.
Okay, they don't have, okay. Anyway, they have to get a permit.
Okay, no more hands. Let me have, Marlene, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Eisenberg,
So I'm trying to read it. Can you come back to me?
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Masseri,
No.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes,
Barton,
Yeah.
passes. And Eisenberg,
Yes.
it passes.
She likes to do that. Who's not getting a permit, I'm gonna say.
I have one more, but I'll give it to someone else. Okay. Okay, so if you go over to the next page. And where it says. Existing detached structures, including garages, may be converted. I would like to change this to existing detached structures, including garages, barns, and any other accessory buildings. There's a lot of, there's a lot of old buildings around. The nice thing is that they've already got concrete pads and adjacent to houses and.
I'll second.
Thank you.
think that's all it's fun, Jim.
Yeah.
For any discussion?
We're still talking no more than two, right?
No, it doesn't change it doesn't change.
It doesn't change that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Grimes,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Osiri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
Passes.
That's it from me.
I have a couple of motions that deal with ADUs outside of UGAs. And so I'll just shoot the first one out there real quick and we'll just kind of get an idea. It's to remove the parking requirements for ADUs throughout the county. If I get some thumbs down, we'll just. All right, well, that's kind of what I was. Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
You couldn't hear what you said?
Yeah, so the motion would be to, basically, it's to remove the parking requirements for ADUs, but throughout the county, so they've adjusted, some of the rules for inside UGAs, this would be for everything, but, I get the sense that we're sort of, maybe we just want to talk about stuff that's inside UGAs thing, so I will skip those. My next motions are about co-housing, so does anyone else have motions about?
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Well, I would actually support the last one,
Which one,
removing the parking requirements, because it's so that once you get outside of an area, you can say, oh, what is it, just provide parking.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so co-housing, and could we pull, well, let's see, for the agenda. Things, we just look where. What's co-housing here? Cool.
We just jump in here for a minute, and Mark, you talked about three things, but I think as I read it, I view the ADUs and the co-housing as all one document.
Yeah, it's that the code amendments are more than this.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
Cool, yeah, so my motion, my co-housing motion, I have one about parking, but it's outside UGAs. So the other one, though, is to allow co-housing in all zones in the UGA, and right, sorry, I don't have the exact text changes there. But currently, it looks like the staff's proposing that co-housing is similar to ADUs, and it's allowed in zones inside UGAs except for similar to the ag and those kind of things.
Forestry and ag, but they do add the general commercial under this.
Okay. So it'd be to allow co-housing in all zones in UGA, including for cities and ag.
Sorry, is that your question?
That is my motion.
Sorry, could you do something about that?
The motion is to allow co-housing in all zones in UGA, including forestry and ag.
I would second that, for whatever reason.
All right, go ahead, Lucas.
Oh, thank you. I was just gonna say that the reason that co-housing is only allowed in those certain zones is per the commerce guidance. They said to allow co-housing anywhere where we had multifamily with 6 or more. So that's what we did. We just followed their guidance.
My only experience has been daughters that were college students and how that all works with a large house in the Seattle area. It's really worked well for that situation. These large old houses that would, and then in Europe, it was common in visiting different areas in Europe, folks that we stayed with and family back from the old country, and sure seemed to work really well. We made use of rooms that added income to an elderly widow, let's say, and anyway, I support it.
Commissioner Brown.
So I left home at 15 and I spent the next 15 years living in co-housing most of the time. Sharing with other people. I mean, it was a great way to live, frankly. Great way to keep the costs down. I can't remember any scenario where I would say that the myself and my co-housing colleagues ever created a disruptive environment that was any different to any other single family occupancy. I mean, it's got, these rules trace back to this thing about, you know, stopping unrelated adults sharing a dwelling. I mean, probably goes back to moral code issues. I mean, I just don't see the logic in today's. I mean, today, I mean, I'm talking about by the time 50 years ago. So 50 years ago, it was perfectly normal. Where I grew up, it was very normal to do that. So I just don't see the downside in allowing it. Anyway.
Ready to vote?
Go ahead. I just wanted to know, I'm just not sure what you mean by co-housing, because there are co-housing projects in which people, buy the house on property owned by the co-housing cooperative. And then when they want to move, they can sell the house, but they don't sell the land. So there's formal structures of co-housing. There's also people living together in a cooperative manner. So I don't know exactly what we're talking about in that extent, if that would encompass all those sorts of situations or specifically formal co-housing.
Co-living.
Hold on just a minute. Lucas, did you hear that question?
Yeah. And this is commonly everybody's calling this co-housing. It's defined by Commerce as co-living housing. Co-living is a housing model. I believe Commissioner Hanson, what you're speaking of is like a co-op situation where there's group ownership in a house. That is not what this is referring to at all. This is referring to more of a dormitory situation, where people rent individual rooms and there's a shared kitchen sort of thing.
Been there. Well, thank you.
Yeah, those college kids.
Hey, maybe more.
House.
Yeah. Ready to vote?
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Osari,
No.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Bright,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
Passes.
I have two more motions.
Multi-family density.
Sure.
So my motion is on page 29 in the packet, and this is more wordsmithing than anything else. Let me find it here.
My numbers don't number that way.
So this is it's about rear yards. And it's just some more of a semantics than anything else. What it says currently is rear yards, period, uncovered patios, driveways, walkways, vegetation.
Point of
Oh,
order.
sorry, go ahead.
I think this is the next hearing. The the general code amendment.
The code amendment.
Oh, to the point. I withdraw my specific.
That's good, because I was gonna have to get help from.
So are we ready to move this on?
Go ahead.
If nobody else has anything on the ADUs and co-living, I would make a motion to approve as amended with the findings and facts. Recommendation of approval, I guess.
I didn't speak, so you got it.
Judge,
I was gonna second it. But no.
Approve. Vote approved. Eileen? And if you're ready, when you call the roll, please.
Yes. Jefferson,
Yes.
Osari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yeah.
Bright.
Yes.
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Okay.
Okay, so, can I just make one comment on Commissioner Grant's motions? I note that, he quoted some guidance from Department of Commerce indicating that to encourage some of this growth in the UGA, we should reduce impact fees, which means we have to impose them on the rest of the county so we can reduce them in these selective areas.
So. We are to the part proposed amendment to the annual Whatcom County Code Amendment.
Lucas.
So Lucas, go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioners.
on.
I have a short little preamble about these code amendments, and then I'll let you guys get to it. I'm here to present the 2025 annual Whatcom County Code amendments. We have 11 amendments tonight. Amendment number 1 is a revision to the Water Resource Protection Overlay District to exclude public schools, of which there is only one, Wade King Elementary School. Amendment number 2 is an update to child care facility standards to comply with state code. Amendment number 3 clarifies wells serving clustered lot language to make it a little clearer without changing any requirements. Amendment number 4 updates the use of setback areas to conform to Washington State Building Code. Amendment number 5 updates the setback area code to allow electric vehicle charging stations. Amendment number 6 updates the resort commercial density requirements to a floor area ratio instead of a dwelling unit equivalent. Amendment number 7, the hearing examiner requested that we update 22.05 to reflect changes made by the council on September 9th, 2025 to align with Whatcom County Code 2.11, which is the hearing examiner code. Amendment number 8 removes the pre-application refunds to ensure PDS is capturing the full cost of project permits. Amendment number 9 is related to a reduced application fee for multiple permit applications. Amendment number 10, the hearing examiner recommended that we clarify our CUP transferability processes. The code change gives the hearing examiner criteria to examine the transferability of the conditional use permit, and the code change ensures that the conditions of the permit are still being met. Amendment number 11 is similar to 10. The criteria for transferring administrative use permits allowed blanket transfers, and the code change ensures that the conditions of the permit are still being met before the transfer of the permit. After the public hearing is concluded, I can bring the chapter up on screen and we can move on to your proposals.
Without getting into discussion or argument, if anybody has any questions to ask, it's a fine question.
Just to use, should we move adoption and then discuss amendments, or discuss amendments and then move adoption?
Okay, now we can, we don't need to answer that one right now because we'll move into the public hearing unless.
Oh, sorry, my bad, my bad.
Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing. Take over, please.
Yes, the public hearing will be on the annual code amendments. Anyone in the room wish to speak at this time? Seeing no hands. I'm gonna move to the attendees online. Do any of you wish to speak on the annual code amendments? Seeing no hands, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Go ahead, Commissioners. Commissioner McGarrett.
I have a couple just questions. On number 1, the removal of the schools from the Water Resource Protection Overlay District. I just don't really understand what this is doing.
So it basically just allows the school to be exempt from the water resource overlay requirements. They're still required to all the NPDES requirements. It would allow them to expand a little bit within their impervious surface areas.
Or parking.
If I may. Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Kirschner, Whatcom County Planning. It's exempting them from the impervious surface limits. In Lake Patton and Lake Samish, there's specific hard impervious surface limits that they're subject to, and quite frankly, we feel a school doesn't really it already exceeds that, so they can't expand basically anything without a variance. They're already subject to stormwater requirements, as Lucas said, per the Department of Ecology Stormwater Manual, no matter what. And so they're being exempted from the impervious surface limits specifically.
I'll just add, Wade King wants to do an expansion and they can't under this code, the way it's written currently. So this would allow them to expand, but also still meet the stormwater standards.
Go ahead, Commissioner Garrett.
If they were brought into the city of Bellingham, what, would they be subject to this overlay district in the city of Bellingham?
No. But this area is kind of a no-go for UGA, right?
Bellingham doesn't.
I understand that, but if we're not being more lenient than what they would be if they were in the city, because assumedly they may potentially be in the city at some.
No, it would be the same. They're subject to the Department of Ecology Stormwater Manual.
Same standard.
But they don't have the overlay district.
Correct.
Commissioner Hampton. Just for me to understand, if you have more impervious surface, you need more stormwater treatment to compensate for the impervious surface, right?
Right.
Does that mean when those big lagoons lined with limestone would be the type of insulation they would be using, or would there be requirements in the overlay for them to have rain gardens and those sorts of low density stormwater treatments?
So they would still be required to do low impact development. They currently have, I think, an engineered wetland and a stormwater pond that currently meets, well, it met the stormwater manual over time. But going forward, if they were to add more than 2,000 square feet of hard surface, then they would basically have to treat that to the current standards through that low impact development.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
How much are they planning on adding?
I don't know if they have, maybe I don't know if they have specific targets. This came up when they basically wanted to add a garden with like rock paths and a rock path like around their thing, and we're like, you asked the question and the hard surface, and so like you're expanding, and so we said it might be a good idea to maybe talk to your elected official and have this docketed as an item to maybe not be subject to the impervious surface limit. So I don't know if they have any specifics at this time.
Something about the track too, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe don't expand the track a little bit.
Sure. I think at some point they're probably also, if we have to have reportables and things like that, that would count too. So they're just looking into the future that they wouldn't have to get a variance every single time.
Yep.
On page 5. Under the resort commercial. Where it's changing mobile home parks, recreational vehicles, hotels, to the floor area ratios. Is that changing how much allowed zoning or density would be allowed in that? Or is it just changing how it's being evaluated? Like, is some of these parcels gonna be allowed to have more, less? What'll be the result of this?
I am going to defer to Amy on that. I don't believe it's going to change the density dramatically. There's probably a fine amount of change, but not enough that we could define without going into decimal points, I believe.
So I found it. The only thing that this is addressing or changing, is the, floor area ratio for hotels and motels. We're actually assigning it a floor area ratio. The resort commercial is kind of a funky zone and is in that it is in both our urban growth areas and our rural areas. Often our rural areas don't have septic, and the current code ties it density in an odd sort of way to this a dwelling unit equivalent from the health department. The health department doesn't have a dwelling unit equivalent, so we were tying this hotel motels on septic to a definition that doesn't exist. And so what we did is looked at other zones typical in our rural areas that do not have sewer, and we did the same floor area ratio for that. And the example of small town commercial allows a floor area ratio of 0.6.
So that's for the hotels. What about the recreational vehicle parks and the mobile home parks? Now they're subject to these other Whatcom County codes rather than the 15 units per acre or the minimum 7 units per acre.
Yeah, the resort commercial used to have that section in there, but it's already in that 2080. I think it's 950 or something. We have very specific code to mobile home parks and recreational vehicle parks, and that density is in there as well. So we just had it cited twice.
So those two, the densities won't change on.
Correct.
Just cleaning it up then, okay.
Sure, John.
I have a question about that, it's also just kind of some cleanup language, but is your intention with that, so, under the district requirements, that all of those things that you talk about are only where you have both public sewer and water, so in order to get single family dwelling, multi-family dwelling, mobile home, recreational, hotels, that are all that stuff, that all has to have public sewer and public water?
Yes, so under the density requirements, the last sentence of the preamble says following densities apply only where public water and public sewer and water serve the project. We actually struggled, Lucas can tell you, we sat and talked about this for a long time, how to fit this language in the best way as possible, without rewording and redoing this whole section of code. And so, the way that it was previously written was very difficult to follow and reference code that didn't exist. So this is what we came up with, that you cannot have a hotel and motel without public water, which was a health department requirement. And where public water is provided, whether on sewer or septic, your floor area ratio is 0.6.
Okay, makes sense. Eileen, could you pull up my motion?
Yes.
I have a recommendation for, I don't think this will change the intent of the policy, but I think it just clarifies the language a little bit. Yeah, so it's the one towards the bottom of the screen, motion page 29 in the packet, yeah. But, okay, kind of hard to read here, but I guess essentially, what I recommend is that. No, that's not it, sorry, next one down. Page 30. Yep, there we go. Commercial district for.
This one?
Yes. Yeah, so, here would be some language that we might consider, and essentially just be renumbering to be clear what densities are allowed when there is or is not public water and or sewers. I think that's the main thing you're talking about here, so, it would be like this, would say maximum gross density varies according to availability of public water. 1, where public water service not provided, there's maximum density. 2, where public water service is provided, but sewer is not, then there's a thing. 3, where both public sewer and public water are provided, and it goes A, B, C, listing down from there. So you're kind of splitting up by saying where you just have public water, where you just have this, or this, and then like that.
Yeah, and I would just caution that in this proposal, E, hotels and motels shall not exceed a floor area ratio. That would be only in the scenario where you have public water and public sewer. You are not allowing for a scenario where you would have public water and a septic.
Yeah, so is your intention, that for that item for E with hotels and motels, would you allow hotels and motels with public water and septic?
Yes,
You would, okay.
yes.
So that would be, we want to put that one then under. Can we make that any bigger? There we go. Bulk water is not provided, bulk water is provided, so that would go really under item 2. Where public water service is provided, but bulk sewer is not provided. The maximum density for dwelling units shall be 2 per acre, and then you could put, you get a return there, and put 1, or you could say. I guess let's just put the hotels and motels there. So if you move E up to that.
I mean, you could just show on the floor area, how does floor area ratio?
Floor area ratio is oh boy. We do not use this very often. I'm gonna bring up my trusty code. So it's a ratio of, development, internal development excluding generally like stairways and elevator shafts and things like that, and your acreage. But I'm gonna bring the code up because,
Basically, the built structure compared to
So
the
if it's 0.6, it means it's still something greater than,
60% of the lot,
okay.
yeah, square footage. But that can go up
yeah.
or it can
Is
go.
that floor, so is that,
So
so if I've got 10 floors and I'm only at 6% of the footprint of the lot,
Right,
right?
of the square, you know,
so
depends on your height requirements or whatever.
floor area ratio means the square footage of the building divided by the square footage of the area of the site the building is to be located on. And then when we talk about floor area for the building, it's exterior walls of a building exclusive of vent shafts, decks, and courts. So essentially the useful space of a building as a ratio of the square footage of the lot. We really don't use that often here.
I know of a guy in England who couldn't do what he wanted. And he went to the planning department and they worked out he could go 4 stories down and everybody would be perfectly happy. Which is what he did.
Okay, so then I think this would be more
For a
of
house.
my motion here, would be just changing language to look like this. Cause I think it's kind of confusing how it's written. I think it's how you wrote it is better than how it was before. And I think this is more clear. And I guess, yeah, I'd like to get your staff thoughts on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I thought you put that well, that it's better than it is written today, but it isn't necessarily very well written. So we've got a ask to the council in this mid-biennium budget amendment, for some money to, update our code next year. And, I think the executive actually used the term modernize the code, which is probably a good term. And so I would ask, we're looking at, from a formatting standpoint, completely rearranging this, and it's the opportunity for us to do that. So I would ask, is that, is it okay for you to amend the motion to ask us to do that as a part of that update next year, as opposed to this, because then there are other sections of the code that now don't look like this, and it can be confusing. The staff to figure, and the
Yeah.
public to figure, oh, well, it's written this way in this section, but written a completely different way in this section. So,
Yep, yeah.
our goal is to get it all consistent with the.
I think you're right, yeah, as I was reading through it, this was you read it this way, and then it's, when you change that, it does look kind of out of
Yeah.
it, like, look through the other stuff, like, oh, the other stuff should get rewritten, and this should get rewritten, where do you stop? You know?
Right.
Yeah, so I think that would be fine, yeah, this isn't a policy change or recommendation to change, it's just a formatting thing, so, yeah, then I guess
Let's pull that, can you read the motion?
I'm actually gonna pull that motion.
Okay,
I didn't get a
that's
second.
long.
I didn't make one. Okay, sweet. So my motion is just that, if the county could, have some time at some point in the future and reformat the code to go in more of a generally accepted,
Simpler.
simpler
Right,
manner.
right.
Second.
There we go. That's a
We
good
have
one.
a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Already did it. Let's vote.
Yeah.
Eileen,
Yes.
do we have voice acclamation on this? Okay.
I think we do. We're all good.
Okay.
I'm sorry, on what?
To ask the
Change?
county to make the code simpler.
Amendment is reformat.
More simple.
Yeah, my motion is
More
to
simple.
reformat the code and make it simpler, clearer, and modernist.
Anybody opposed to, you opposed to that?
No.
Unanimous.
Well,
By voice acclamation.
He fell asleep.
Are you opposed?
He fell asleep over it, didn't he?
Great, so yeah, so I had two motions that were, but they were both the same idea there, so I will just have those into that one kind of thing. Those are all the motions that I had.
Okay, Commissioner Brown. Sorry, Commissioner Brown.
I got an upgrade.
That's a
thank
nice
you.
compliment, though, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all right.
He's all done.
So this is not a motion, but I just want to have a little discussion about the comment about, pre-application cost fees and reduced application cost fees. I just want to express my absolute support for both, right? I don't think there's any need for 50% discount on pre-app fees. I don't think we need to reduce the application fees, but my position is this, is the fees are too low. And if the fees are too low and they're too high, and I'll tell you why I make both statements. They're too low because I don't think they represent the cost of what it is to provide the service. And they're too high because they're not delivering the service within in the time that the person is expecting to get permit processed. So it's the cost is far less important than the time it takes to process it. And the faster you guys can process it, frankly, the higher the price can be. And that's far more important because in simple terms, if you've got a $2 million project, simple math,
Sliding scale.
it's 500, every day of delay is costing the developer $500. Or if it's $1 million project, it's costing them $250. They'd much rather give the county the money and get them processed quickly than pay the bank that, because they're paying someone. Right, so again, whatever I can do personally to help you achieve that goal, including increasing the fees. If it, I'm more than happy to stand up and shout for that one.
We should make sure that gets in.
I was gonna say, how often do you get that? You better write that down.
This is all being recorded.
That's true.
You can see it on YouTube.
It'll be uploaded to the website.
Yeah, just another clarifying question. Page 7, page 9, numbers 10 and 11. What is the trigger for these? Are these? When would these get triggered? So somebody selling a business, somebody selling a property, when are generally these, the conditional uses and the administrative use permits getting, what would trigger to go through this process?
Yeah, a sale of
The
the
sale,
property,
yeah.
a sale of a business, say a conditional use permit for, a auto mechanic shop or whatever. And we traditionally send that to the hearing examiner and we just ask him to approve that. And this hearing examiner, which is new, and he's pretty detail oriented. He's like, what are the criteria under which I'm doing this? And so we looked at just ensuring that when we're transferring these, either from an administrative perspective for the ADMs or from the conditional use permit perspective, and it's the hearing examiner, we want to make sure the conditions of approval are met. It's really to protect the new buyer, honestly, because it happens often that somebody buys business, it's been operating for a really long time, and then they come into us and we're like, oh, wait, you needed landscaping or whatever that is. So just a recognition that you should always meet your conditions of approval and then we can transfer that use.
Good.
Commissioner Brown.
I like, Dominic's question, like what gets me a little bit edgy here is it says the permit shall be non-transferable. So the starting point is that non-transferable. The starting point should be transferable, provided certain conditions are met. So that's my concern about this language. Because it has a guy can spend a lifetime building a business and then he retires and he wants to sell it.
Rod, it's quoting the WAC.
That is current code. That transferable language is.
Well, I don't like the whack.
That's fair.
I agree, yes.
Would you like a motion to move this on, or do we got more to discuss?
Just for clarity, is this language on page 8 of 10, is this language exactly out of the back of what?
So I'm looking, I thought of our existing code 2205.026, and I believe that it's non-transferable unless you get a transfer, which is admittedly not great language. I believe that is current language. Oh, it matches the exact same language as the out of the ADM language. Currently, we don't have any language supporting transfers of CUPs. We do them, we don't have any language, and that's why the hearing examiner asked us to add this. And this was, I believe, his recommendation, and Lucas will probably follow up on that. We did also send this information, all the code scrub and the ADU language, to the hearing examiner to see if he had any comments, and we got nothing.
Yeah, I just said the hearing examiner is probably not someone who builds a business under a CUP and then tries to sell it, so. I'm just gonna look it up, so RCW.
I don't believe there's no RCWs, conditional use permit.
CC.
Yeah, Mark County Code.
Could we simply change it to be conditional use permits? And this would, we could do something similar for administrative use. Conditional use permits shall be transferable when said transfer is approved by the hearing examiner. Right? We just flip that language.
Sure. Yep.
Oh, I like that. That sounds better.
Everybody okay with that?
Shall be transferable unless said transfer, yeah.
Okay, acclamation.
I'm sorry, what is the language? Conditional use permit shall be transferable unless the transfer is not approved. Is that what your motion is?
No, be conditional use permit shall be transferable when said transfer is approved by the hearing examiner.
It's putting it positive.
It has to go to a hearing examiner to be transferred.
If I was the buyer, I'd like something formal that says, yeah, this is okay. At the time I wrote gave the guy my check, everything was okay.
So current code does say today, conditional use permits shall be non-transferable unless said transfer is approved by the hearing examiner, period.
Go.
We added that it should be in compliance with the original conditions.
So that's the change you propose.
This is the same thing. It's just a-
Yeah, I was just trying to put it in a positive.
Yeah, more positive.
It's fine.
That's a negative, that's positive.
Yeah.
To say you can do this unless you don't meet it.
Yeah.
Right,
Like a double negative.
and,
Right.
and I would just do the same in the administrative and the conditional use.
Well, I would recommend that they edit.
I think they are.
I think Lucas has got it, right?
Part of that same thing, right?
I think I got it.
Yeah, good job.
Anything else?
That was acclamation.
So that should be when or after, said.
I'm comfortable to let them sort that out unless you wanna
Well, it's
suggest
better.
specific language.
I'm just thinking out loud on the word.
So, I'd like to make do we have a motion already accept with,
No,
Not yet.
signing them back?
Not yet.
No.
I think did you put a motion on the floor for this?
I haven't, it sounded like it was by acclamation that the staff would go and rework that language to be a positive, if you wanna.
Yeah, let's do this motion and get it tied down, so your motion was to change those two words, is that right?
As Lucas wrote it. He had it up there a minute
Yeah,
ago.
Lucas, can you post that or read it back to us?
Conditional use permits shall be transferable unless said transfer is not approved by the hearing examiner. After the hearing examiner has found that the use is still in compliance with the conditions previously put in place, or if found to be non-compliant, the hearing examiner puts new updated conditions in place to match modern requirements.
It would be conditional use permits shall be transferable when said, when instead of unless.
And then strike the word not.
And yeah,
Right.
that's the word not.
For semantics, when implies it will happen. Unless implies it may not happen.
Correct.
Well, only when,
Sure.
Or after.
I mean, it sounds like it really is like, you don't know if it's gonna be transferable or not. We can't say it is transferable because the hearing examiner might decide that it's not.
Well, if they meet all, the hearing examiner can't say, yeah, you meet everything, but I'm not letting you do it. If you meet everything, they have to let you do it.
Oh, I see.
Is that correct?
We've never had a transfer not go through.
If said transfer is.
Oh, if said transfer.
Commissioner Siri, are you okay with that?
I thought actually if's not a bad,
I think if should be. in place
instead of when, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a good suggestion.
There you go.
And I would make that same changes in the administrative approval as well, that verbiage. Yeah, so the motion would be to amend the conditional use approvals and the administrative use approvals, the transfer of them to read shall be transferable if said transfer is approved.
Yeah, he's changed them both.
Yes, I was just restating the
There's a
motion.
third place though as well, on the top of page 8.
Isn't that the one we just did?
There's a little bit more though, right there in the black, conditional use permits shall be transferable
Right.
if, so change that language to.
Oh, got it.
For clarity, you want to read the code? I'm listening.
On chapter 22.05 project permits, code number 22.05.026.2. On gonna be conditional use permits shall be transferable if said transfer is approved by the hearing examiner. And conditional use permits shall be transferable if said transfer is approved by the hearing examiner. And on 22.05.0285. It will, number 5, it will read, shall be transferable if said transfer is approved by the director.
Second.
Any discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mosseri,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah.
passes.
Now move the whole section. No changes. For vote. For approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Brown. For the code change amendment, second is Commissioner Van Dalen,
As amended.
as amended. Any discussion? Eileen, when you're ready, would you call the roll, please? Go ahead and finish the typing.
Thank you. Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Eisenberg,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Man.
Are you off duty?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Hang on,
Lucky
you should get the guy home.
You might want to just stay there.
Yeah.
Write it down.
We're getting undertime.
Never heard of that, undertime.
I just made it up.
Yeah, pretty good.
The reporter laughed. This is an important.
Do we have a reporter?
They're taking notes.
The UGA is a big work for him.
I don't know who she is with, but.
Should we? Do our next thing?
How many we missing?
This is one.
Just on.
I think she left. Yeah, Matt, let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, for the record, my name is Matt Ahmet, representing Planning and Development Services. And you've had meetings earlier that involve public hearings on all the urban growth area proposals from the cities and the county, and also the rural and resource land proposal from the county. So tonight you have a number of those on your work session, and the intent is for the Planning Commission to work through those urban growth areas and make preliminary recommendations that would come back to you at your final hearing on the whole comp plan.
We can get along now.
So we can either go down the line, or if somebody wants to suggest something. Other than that, we have Emerson.
No, hold on. We're not public hearing.
No, this is the work session.
Which work session? I didn't get one. Just work. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if we want to, work in the order of the agenda, Everson would be first. And the Everson planner, Alex, is here. I can bring up that proposal. And Alex made a presentation on this previously. Alex, I don't know if you want to say a few words about your proposal, maybe a brief summary again, and like the Reader's Digest version, maybe?
Yeah, I'd prefer if we just highlight any changes. I think we've heard a lot of these and we don't have a ton of time, so.
I agree.
My opinion is you don't need to rehash stuff if we've already heard it.
Please.
Okay, does that work for you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
Okay.
can keep it short. Since our last meeting, we've removed our UGA reserve proposal, so you can see it on the map that Matt is showing. So now with our current proposal, the county would actually be gaining 31 acres of ag land. We would only be taking 34 acres, but we're giving back 65, so net gain of 31. And that's really the only difference from my last proposal. Again, all of these are outside of the floodplain towards the western side of town. And yeah, just keeping it brief. I'm here if you have any questions or want me to go over anything else.
He had his hand up first, maybe.
No, I just got out the clarifying question.
Okay, so. Yeah, we just, thank you, Alexander. When you're talking about removing from UGAR and then adding, are you removing any urban growth area or only UGARs? Oh, I see there's one withdrawn, okay. So how does additional UGA balance off against removed UGA?
Like how are we?
Are you just trading as UGARs for UGAs is what I'm asking.
No.
No? Okay. So maybe you could explain that then, what you are adding here, because it's hard for me to, you have existing UGAs. Are you adding additional UGAs?
Yes, we are adding 2 or 3 additional UGAs. One of those UGAs is coming from our UGA reserve. 2 of those, the other 2, one of them is coming from county agricultural land and the other one is coming from rural land.
And so what you are removing though is UGARs, is that correct?
We're removing UGA and UGA reserve, UJR. And those are all going back into ag land.
You see where the cursor is, Jim?
Yeah,
That's current UGA they're proposing to take out and return to ag.
okay. So how many acres of UGA are you removing, and how many acres of UGA are you adding?
We are, sorry, my thing just glitched here. For agriculture, I'm so sorry, my computer. I know that we are adding 65 acres of UGA, or removing 65 acres of UGA. And we're only adding 34 acres of ag land. And okay, here we go. Sorry about that. My computer glitched. Um, so we're removing 53 acres of the current Everson UGA and then 11.9 acres of the UGA reserve. And we're adding 34 acres of ag land and 20 acres of rural land.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So between this presentation and your previous presentation, are the changes solely that you've removed those two UGARs?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Brown. Oh, and of the areas that you're removing from UGA and UGAR, how are any of those areas unbuildable because they're in a floodplain anyway?
The UGA proposals that we're removing?
Yeah.
No, we are removing them because they are in agricultural land. We did do those because we curated those UGA reserves to make sure there was no floodplains in it, but we do want to maintain the county's agricultural base, and we've removed those for this proposal for now.
Hey, if I can step in as Roland Harper here, also working with City of Everson, just to be clear, the areas of the UGA that are being removed for multiple reasons. They can go back into the agricultural land base, but they're also in the floodplain. So not the priority for development. So that is part of the decision-making process is let's get rid of the areas that are in the floodplain and add areas that are out of the floodplain.
So just so I'm super clear, you made a presentation that was dated August 29th. And on that one, compared to this one, which we're gonna call dated 10/17, the only difference on the map is you removed two UGARs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, follow-up question. When you're looking at your population growth capacity, do you include UGARs in that capacity? Yes or no?
No.
Great. Next question. Between those two proposals, your one on the 29th, the one on the 17th, your population dropped by about 1,000 people. So on the 29th, you had a population growth capacity of a proposed UGA of 2,138 people, and now you have a capacity of 1,241 people. If you only calculate your population within your UGA, and you have not changed your UGA, how did you reduce your population?
So when we did that original UGA proposal, we were still working on our land capacity. So this new one, the addendum, this reflects we took out critical areas, so floodplain areas, which takes up a pretty big chunk of our vacant land. We also worked with densities, increasing densities within the city, within the RMU zone, residential zone, and so to comply with that House bill, to accommodate lower income housing and all that. So that's why that capacity has lowered.
Okay. So you made some other changes as well. So if your land, so you're saying your land capacity was the big thing, your land capacity analysis was the big thing changed. Those other changes are that for your housing needs, you changed your 0 to 80% of housing needs stayed approximately the same. Your 80 to 120% of housing needs changed from you, in the previous one, you said your capacity was 266 units, and now you're saying it's 98 units. Could you tell me why that number changed so dramatically?
That is because, and that you said this is for the 0 to 120?
Yep,
Or the 80.
Yep, 80 to 120.
This is because we are accommodating those low income housing. So we, that higher income, from my understanding, reflects single family residences. We're now pushing through this land capacity to accommodate higher densities, which creates those, you know, multifamily, which is why it lowered that single family land base, which then lowers that high income.
Okay, but your lower income housing capacity didn't change virtually. In your previous presentation, you had 411 units, and now you have 420 units.
From my understanding, and I want to note, we are still kind of trying to figure out this land capacity tool. I think me and all of the jurisdictions can say that it's definitely a tricky tool. So we're working with it best of our abilities. But from my understanding, that happened because we took out so much land that would have been used for that. So we're trying to keep those low income the same. That's our, that's where we would want to have a surplus, and we're really pushing to decrease the higher income, because as far as I know, Commerce GMA does not require us to accommodate for that 80 to 120, or actually I think it's just the 120 plus, but I believe that is why that was lowered.
So I guess from my perspective, it like, because you didn't change the UGA, but you changed numbers, and the box that you change numbers in is kind of a black box. Like I don't see that. It feels a little bit like you sort of were like, these are the numbers I want. We're gonna make things different in the black box to get the right output for what we want to have. And I'm not sure if that's how the housing capacity analysis is intended to be used. So I guess my question is, can you show your math? Like, could I see the housing capacity analysis? Could you send that over, take a look at it?
Yeah, I can send it to Matt if he wants to get it to you guys, send the Excel sheet that we used.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Masseri.
Oh, I'd just say that we've been seeing that the whole time. It definitely, they pull a couple dials and all of a sudden the numbers move. We've been seeing that in all the jurisdictions.
Linden, everybody.
It makes, I wouldn't single out just ever. The whole thing has been very comes across as questionable, because you're like, wait a second. You weren't in compliance. Now you finally hit your targets. What'd you do? It's like, well, we made these assumptions instead, and all of a sudden they were able to manipulate the calculator that they were given, So I just wouldn't single one.
Yeah, I've just been tracking like where they changed it. It's not just Everson. I'm not singling you out, Alex. It's you, it's also Nooksack, it's also Sumas.
Molly, Nooksack, go ahead.
Roland Harper here. Are you saying you want to switch to Nooksack? Or do you
No,
want to...
I saw Holly, somebody raised their hand.
Yeah, Holly.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I guess I just wanted to step into the conversation and speak alongside of Alex and just advise that we have been learning how to use the tool and how to fully understand how it's applied to our various jurisdictions. And so if anything, I would say we're refining it and getting to know our densities, our critical areas, and ensuring that we're representing accurately what we're trying to do in those communities, create density, etc. And so it's not just us working with the numbers, but us getting familiar with the tool and how to apply it properly, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand it's a new thing. My assumption is that the comp plan will be appealed. And so part of the appeal process will be, we'll need to be able to defend in an open and transparent way the numbers you guys have picked. So I'd rather have that robust conversation now before we get to the hearings board.
We're cognizant of that. That it needs to be defensible.
All right, any more questions? Commissioner Masseri?
Nope, I'd move to the next one if we.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Who's,
We don't want to approve this before we move on?
do we want to approve them one at a time or all?
Well, I think one at a time, because
Yeah, I'm not gonna approve all of them.
Well, I don't know, are we not gonna see this one? We just keep seeing them again, so I don't know when we ever approve them.
well, you do these preliminary approval, then we're done with Nooksack until the end. After your final public hearing, anybody can comment,
Okay.
but it just takes it off the agenda for you to, so it doesn't keep coming back.
At the end, we don't change anything, that would.
We need a motion.
I make a motion, we accept Everson's, right? We're on
Yeah.
Everson.
Okay, are we all, or go ahead.
Yes, I would just vote no. I'm just not comfortable approving this until we see a little bit more of the details about the numbers back to the land capacity analysis.
All right, so let's do Eileen, what do you call the roll for you?
Oh, aren't we gonna have discussion?
We can have discussion.
Yeah, I think you just,
Okay,
because
okay.
I'm going to vote no, because I don't believe that the rural communities should expand their footprints at all, and they should just densify. So I'm gonna vote no on that consistent basis.
Can I withdraw my motion? Because we're just not gonna get anywhere on this anyway, so.
Well, we'll have a vote, I'll probably lose.
We don't know that.
Well, if we don't approve it, it sends a message.
We can always come back and talk about it later.
Okay, I'll let the motion stand then.
Okay, any other discusussion?
Repeat the motion is to approve. Nooksack and Everson.
No, just Everson.
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
No.
Eisenberg, Eisenberg left at 8:30. Greif,
No.
Hanson,
No.
Jefferson,
No.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
It fails 4-4.
So now what do we do?
Go on to the next one.
Move on to the next.
So is Lyndon in the room, Mark?
No.
Okay, so we'll go to Nooksack.
All right, good evening, Roland Harper here. Hey, just a quick note on the comment, the discussion from Commissioner Hanson about Everson should not expand its UGA and should densify. Everson certainly is densifying, but they are shrinking their UGA in this process. Okay, so that's important to note. We're giving back more ag land than we're taking. So Nooksack, that I also work with, we did not have any UGA reserves to let go of. Our proposal remains the same. We did clarify one of the 3 areas that are including expansions into the ag zone. We had been presenting that there were 3 areas totaling 11 acres. This is at the north end of town. And because of some mapping adjustments that were made during the EIS process, one of those areas is removed 2 acres. So the expansion is only 9 acres of agricultural land. 4 of those acres are already occupied by existing dwellings or abandoned dwellings and other buildings. And then there are approximately 5 acres for which the city has put forward, I think, a very strong and direct proposal for providing ag mitigation, at least to the extent that it's available. It's based on a sound economic framework whereby the property owner at the appropriate time would provide payments in lieu into the county's Conservation Futures Fund that would be used to retire development rights. So this would, in a sense, capture a major portion of the likely increase in property value, and it would be captured at the appropriate time to not make these types of expansions impractical or impossible for the local property owner. And we can work out more of those details, but this is an alternative to purchase of development rights. It's straight up, you're going to convert this acreage of ag land. What's the increase in value? At 50%, approximately $25,000 per acre, that would be paid into the Conservation Futures or appropriate fund. We did provide the UGA addendum where we tried to answer all of the county planning concerns. And especially in our area number 3, which is our UGA reserve, we tried to highlight that this is upland, out of the floodplain, not subject to impacts from Swift Creek naturally occurring asbestos. So the other thing I would like to respond to is this concern about the population capacity surplus. And as Holly said, yeah, I'm sorry.
Pause just for a moment.
Yeah.
Holly Hamilton has raised her hand and wants to interject. Go ahead, Holly. Holly, you're muted there. If you would like to speak, I see your hand up. Go ahead. There we are.
Sorry about that. I wanted to know, Roland, if you wanted me to share my screen because I have my addendum here. It might be helpful to have some of the graphics available.
Yeah, let's, I'm not going to go into this in detail. Let's, have that available if the commissioners want to see something.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll try to be brief. And this is just talking about the land capacity tool. And just to be very, very clear, this whole exercise that's given to us by the state is giving us targets to hit for low income, moderate income, and high income. So we are already charged with adjusting our densities and our mix of single family and multifamily housing. So the first proposal had one mix based on what we thought, well, this is a reasonable combination. And then as we have been getting into this tool, we see that there are other mixes. And in fact, it's typically going to be increasing the percentages to meet these targets, increasing the percentages of low-income housing, which is multifamily housing. So I think it's going to be a mistake if planning commissioners say, well, this is science and here's the assumptions and these are solid and why has this changed? It's a reasonable approach in many cases, but it's sort of like if I asked you, well, you need to come up to hit the target of the number 24. Well, let's see, that could be 6 times 4, or it could be 8 times 3. Well, which is the better combination? And that's what we've been working with in terms of what's the right mix. And the other big factor that Alex mentioned for Everson and for Nooksack is that there's been a release of new FEMA floodplain maps. And so we've now factored in removing additional floodplain areas from capacity. So again, it may seem like we're playing with this, and we are trying to work to see how we can meet our targets and not have excess capacity. But the whole exercise is about making certain assumptions that really deviate from rational planning. And we're trying to strike that balance. So anyhow, hope that helps.
Yeah, can you pause right there? Commissioner Masseri, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's good explanation. I generally am fine with this. The only thing I've been struggling with on Nooksack is that number 3 area, because it just feels a little bit like Blaine. Only in the regard that it does technically touch, but you can't access it through the city, and so you've got to go on to South Pass there, and that's going to be. I think I remember you saying that's going to be an industrial zoned area, which I think that's great, but just want to make sure that's thought out. Is that really a good idea, and how much precedent is there for having the UGA expansion that you can't get to? Because it's shown to be problematic in Blaine, that it's sending a lot of, I know this isn't exactly the same, but in there it sends a lot of traffic through the unincorporated area. This would be sending industrial heavier uses, even though South Pass is generally a heavier truck route, but just I guess want to get a little bit more comment on that.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point to make about this area. It's geographically separated, and so that creates some challenges. I think the transportation aspect is the least of those, because as you said, South Pass Road, there's gravel trucks and farm trucks going up and down that road. In fact, this property's been used for agriculture and equipment. But the infrastructure, the water and the sewer, are real items that the city is addressing in our water system plan and general sewer plan amendment. There is a water line with I guess you'd say the partnered water association, City of Nooksack and Nooksack Valley Water Association. We share water storage and transmission, conveyance. There's a water line that is right in front of this property. So putting a master meter on that line solves the water. The sewer will have to be piped down South Pass, and it would be expensive. So I think it remains to be seen the extent to which the value of this industrial land will justify, in the developer's mind, the expense of connecting that through the sewer. So it's a fair point in my mind.
Commissioner Dunn?
Roland, I think kind of same question from Everson. So your nothing changed on your map between your proposal dated 10/17 and your previous one dated 9/29, but your population capacity dropped from 1,669 to 1,341. I guess, and I understand what you're saying about you're sort of like guessing and changing things, whatever. But I think it would be the same question as I would like to see your work in there. Can you describe it in any more detail, or should we just kind of wait till we see the land capacity analysis?
No, I can provide some more detail. So item number 1, factoring in the new draft flood maps. So there's increased critical area deduction. That removes capacity. We took, let's call it a finer point in looking at market factors. And in some zones, there's justification for increasing market factors. We looked very carefully at the split between multifamily and single family in these zones. And so I guess I would counter to say, what's to say that our first mix was more correct than our second mix? Because they're all just combinations of these that, again, in all cases, veer away from what would be our typical planned densities, because we have to distort to open the door to all of the low-income housing. I'm going to toss something out that may surprise you, and maybe it won't. We have to increase densities so that 2/3 of the new housing units in Nooksack are in the 0 to 80% AMI. It veers from reality, and we're trying to find the mix that does that while not excessively overinflating the appearance of the capacity. And so what you're seeing is actually this tool artificially inflates the capacity. And if we didn't have this artificial inflation, Nooksack is actually on the money with our land capacity. And we're actually talking about this. We may actually prepare and submit what is not the permutation that meets HB 1220, but the reality of planning in a small town, while opening the door to affordable housing, taking away barriers, but not imagining that this permutation is the real element of a plan. And I apologize if I seem a little cynical, but it's shocking, honestly, what we're being compelled to do.
Commissioner Masseri.
I don't want to circumvent the conversation, but I'm just thinking in general, we're gonna have the same conversation with everybody. What if we have them all send their numbers and give the brief explanation of why they changed from the original one to now, and then you can review all that. Otherwise, you know, we're gonna go down a long road where everyone's saying the same stuff, where they're learning how to do it, they're moving stuff around. It's a moving target, it feels like.
Low income,
You know,
80%.
I don't wanna like curtail the conversation, but it seems like maybe have all that to review and then that's follow up on that versus having them all explain it all over and over.
Yeah, that sounds good. Perfect. So Roland, if you could send in your land capacity analysis, that'd be great.
Yeah, is available. You know, it's a multi-sheet tool, and it's very amazing how it's set up. But as I said, it has built-in distortions, and that we're still trying to figure out how best to work with. Thank you.
All right, we're ready for next chapter now.
Computer broke.
I think we just did Nooksack, but with two large.
I just want to comment, and if you read the county staff comments, the statistics are the only things that are challenging in their proposal. That's all, and like even when they say, oh, well, it's outside the 100-year floodplain, well, big deal, the 1,000-year floodplain is gonna flood's gonna happen every 5 years. So I just think there's more flaws than just some statistical analysis in these proposals.
So we are just after 9 o'clock. What would you like to do?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Might as well, this is all going on forever.
Yes.
Okay.
So with guidance to the city, since you said, like,
Yeah, I'd say for all of these and the ones we haven't seen, if Matt, you could reach out and just say, hey, please send all of your spreadsheets and any explanations that they have on why things have changed from previous drafts that we've seen.
So we have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
That was the first motion that passed today?
Probably. Golly, you're getting nowhere. Get somewhere.
Well, we are.
Chamber or something.
We tell people we don't like something, and we don't
Yeah.
have to do it. We don't have to do it, we don't like it.